Daft Punk ran 4 albums, a couple live stuff, and they actually did the Tron soundtrack. And that's, in my opinion, why they didn't do a real movie for third album, is because they got caught up with Tron uh, soundtrack.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I prefer the original Tron. Yeah,
I
they
like.
worked on it.
I love that. It's like a comfort movie for me, Disney's Tron, because I saw it on a field trip for the very first time, and it's like all black, and you just have the screen in front of you, and you're just the headphones on, and you're just watching it in like a big bus, and it's nighttime. It's like
Ooh,
11:30 at night, just driving on down the highway, and it's just pitch black on the bus except for the screen, everybody's screen.
that's nice.
Yeah, it's a very, like I said, it's a comfort movie, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. So
Well, think about it aesthetically. Tron is also a perfect film for Daft Punk to do.
yes, they
Just aesthetically, that's the movie they would do. And it's funny how they meld aesthetic with sound. In this movie, 5555 is a perfect example.
yes.
Perfect example. It came out a few years after the original album.
When Homework came out in 1997, it really changed electronic music in so many different ways. Because yes, we had house music before Daft Punk, but French house music really changed house music forever. And this was right before they started doing the robot thing. Because they would have like different kinds of masks, but they didn't really have the robot thing. Because like really early, if you want to spoil it for yourself, you could find early photos of the two. I'm not going to try to pronounce their French names, but the robots, there's the gold robot and the silver robot. It did a lot of good for electronic music because it made it more accessible. I think Homework itself is not the best, like, accessible, like, in terms of, like, mainstream, but in terms of the underground, what it did, it was completely changed it. Like, for, like, in terms of French house music, day and night. There's like before Homework and after Homework. In the timeline of French house music, there's it's just undescribably important to electronic music, at least in my opinion. Because if the success they got in France because of house music put them on the trajectory to put out Discovery in 2001, Human After All in 2005, and their last studio album in 2013 with Random Access Memories, which got them a Grammy, you know, with Get Lucky with Pharrell Williams.
Well deserved.
Yeah,
But it's crazy how much time had passed between each album.
yeah. And I mean, we're gonna try to keep positive about this, but Daft Punk is my favorite electronic style of music, and yeah, I talk about black metal, I talk about rock music, I talk about
Culture.
all kinds of general music. But what really surprised people is like my actual knowledge on electronic music, because I actually really do enjoy a lot of electronic music. I really like jungle, raga step, obviously French house, and because of Discovery, new disco, which really like almost every album they change something. They don't invent anything, but they introduce it to a brand new audience every time.
Ergo new.
Yeah, new disco. Uh, Obviously, I think Human After All is probably their weakest album, which it's debatable because you only got 4 albums to pick, and it's not like Metallica where there's like blood on the floor about which album is the best Metallica album out of the first 4. And this one, it's more of like there's a reason why, because it's like with Metallica, it got progressively, their writing style got better, their musical ability got better because it's their first album. You know, they had the Leather demo with Dave Mustaine and everything, where they were trying to get their footing and everything. But with Daft Punk's 4 albums that they released, they're all drastically different. So it's all fair to say that, oh, Homework is my favorite, Random Access Memories is my favorite, or Human After All, or my personal favorite, Discovery. I think um, a really good note to start with that a lot of people might not know is for Random Access Memories, there's no samples. There's the only quote unquote samples is audio from a big electronic music artist from like the 60s, 70s, where he talks about his life, and he was a big influence on Daft Punk's music. Uh, and it's this beautiful story of him talking about dealing with going through the club scene and moving himself up in the world, playing different gigs and everything, and living inside of his car, just trying to make his music thing work. It's a very beautiful story. But Random Access Memories has absolutely no samples. It's all original music that they record and remix to make their own kind of electronic music. And I mean, I think a lot of Random Access Memory kind of steps away from a lot of the electronic aspect of it because all of it is real music they recorded. There's a lot more rock influence. There's a lot of different kinds of styles of rock music on it that's not typically seen in electronic music. Why I love Discovery so much is because it's such a hodgepodge of super happy electronic music and juxtaposition with the sad points, but that's what makes the album more lively because it feels more human.
Despite the fact that they're aliens.
Yeah, or even the persona of robots making the album, quote unquote. Human After All obviously probably would have more, try to get more of that theme because it's called Human After All, written by an out of the two guys that are their personas are robots. But for me, I think Discovery really shows like humanity in the way that it's the ups and downs. You got love songs, you got party songs, you've got sad songs, you got the human experience all wrapped up in one album that could be easily classified as new disco, which is even better because of how disco was killed overnight. And to just be like, no, we're still gonna have a good time, you know?
Disco got done dirty.
I honestly think so too. I understand the point of view that it got overplayed, it got killed by the people that made it.
So did hair metal,
Yeah,
but people still play that at skating rinks to this day. They play Motley Crue at skating rinks instead of disco, and that's a damn shame.
as much as I like Motley Crue, I would rather be hearing some ABBA.
I'd rather or the Bee Gees,
Yeah,
anything except hair metal. That's what I listen to recreationally. When I go skating, I want to listen to something I don't listen to all the time.
yeah. Um, they for the homework they released kind of like an anthology style movie for each track for the most part. But with Discovery, spoiler alert, this is a review of Interstellar 555 that was released in 2003 um, for Discovery, just being the visual aspect for it. And not to throw shade at the Wall movie, but I feel like the way that Daft Punk did the album made it where didn't have to be any dialogue.
It's like a silent film. If
Yeah,
you took away the music, which is I know it's integral to the movie because it's literally the visual aspect of the album itself,
yeah,
but it's also a testament to because we're talking about the visual side, not just the music. So the movie is animated by Toei Animation Studios, which also does One Piece and a lot of other anime, and it's weird how it feels older. Like it
yeah.
feels like a 80s anime.
Hmm.
And the whole time, a lot of the background art, especially when they're in space or on an alien world,
It's so
it
beautiful.
reminds me of like Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've ever seen that. It reminds me of like like late '70s, early '80s animation,
Yeah,
which is crazy for it to come out in 2003.
yeah.
I don't know if it's the cell shading or just the coloring, the color palettes they use, but it very much feels older, which is perfect because yeah, their music's newer in a sense, and yet it somehow feels like '80s. Everything just feels drenched in '80s, despite how futuristic the technology. And it's funny because it's like this utopian world, and it's brief, like blink and you'll miss it, but in the background there's a map of the Earth, and there's no America. And I don't know what they're trying to say with that.
For those who don't know, Daft Punk is a French group.
And there's a bunch of Easter eggs, references, whatever you want to call it, like inside jokes.
Hmm.
Like there's two security guards from the record label that are watching, which by the way is called Our Company,
Yeah,
which is
record company.
it's clever. So there's a part where the security guards are watching a game, and it's France versus Japan
And France is whooping Japan's ass.
by 1 point.
I
By
mean, it's soccer,
it's
so
soccer, so that's a big deal.
yeah.
But the fact that it's animated in Japan, but Daft Punk is French, and that they're beating them. It's just cute little nods and winks
Yeah,
here and there was really cool. But the actual plot of the movie is something that you don't even need the music. You just watch it as almost like a silent film, and it's cohesive, and that's a credit and a testament to how good the animation is. Because unlike other stuff like the Grateful Dead movie, which isn't all animated, but the first half is, and then you get to the live concert stuff, that that is far less cohesive, and it's not really telling a story. It's like the music's playing, and there's very psychedelic visuals happening, but there's not like a narrative to follow. It's just a bunch of psychedelic visuals repeated over and over and over again. That's just a trip. I kind of thought this movie was gonna be. I've seen some of the music videos. I've seen clips from the movie, but to sit down and watch it from beginning to end, like 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh shit, this is a movie.
right.
It's a real like front to back. This is a movie.
Yeah, it has story, has plot, has character development, has everything except for the girl, which I don't know. It's just not to. I'm gonna make the joke because I'm a bass player, but to make the point that the woman in the movie is a bass player, and we have a habit of just being the quiet, reserved member of the band, but we're not emotionless like how she was almost the entire movie.
I don't know what that was about.
Like I also really liked in the beginning for the one more time part. Um, they give you a hint what's coming next because like the lighting on their faces when they'll be blue, but
Yes.
then the keyboardist will be black and the other musicians will be white. Or I might be projecting, but I think the drummer was Hispanic
Yeah, it's interesting.
because it was a different shade of it wasn't black, but it wasn't white
It's
either.
just the way he looks. It doesn't look like he'd be a Caucasian, but I think it's also interesting that first off, it's Gargamel's wet dream to
Yeah,
unsmurf a bunch of blue people.
yeah.
But the fact that they're aliens, they don't abide by like racial norms of Earth, and they just decided this guy's gonna be black because he has an afro. I love that. There's like this. This is the black guy. This is the white people.
And all in all, I really want it to be like a first time experience for people, so I don't really want to spoil
No.
much because it's my favorite music movie.
Wow.
Honestly, it goes back to when I was in middle school. I started listening to Daft Punk, and I saw it for the first time. I think either eighth or ninth grade, and I just fell in love with the movie because it's always been my favorite Daft Punk album. It was the first one I listened to, and then even with listening to the other four, their live stuff, even the Tron album, which is significantly phenomenal. Like there's like
Yeah.
orchestra, there's it's like the blend of techno and house music and orchestraic, and it feels like an epic.
The music carries that film. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
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 it's a good movie, but like the soundtrack is what's carrying it on its shoulders.
yeah. So I just want to hit some big points, some fun points about the movie because overall it's like You almost going in completely blind. Would you say you had a really good time with the movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's only like an hour, and you can find it on YouTube, whether it's a playlist of each song and everything, or the entire movie front to back. Um, so the only way why I think it's cool at the end when they're on the guitar, the Space Cowboys. That's not the character, but that's like how I like to think of him, because it also looks like the art style a little bit of Space Cowboy, the
Mhm.
anime. Um, the girl's in his room and he sees a bunch of posters of the band, but also a lot of pictures of her. But at the same time, it's like I think it's really wholesome that this bounty hunter space cowboy esque guy is like I really like the bass player for this band. That's my dream girl. Of like
He wouldn't give a shit about the bassist if he didn't want that poo-tang.
yeah,
If he
yeah,
wasn't trying to hit that, he wouldn't give a fuck about the bassist. Let's be honest.
no. But you did say that like if given the situation, if it wasn't in that situation, it'd be pretty creepy.
Yeah, I think I made a reference to the guy who sent the bomb
Yeah,
to that Icelandic pop chick. I'm like, he could have been that creepy, but no. He just has posters of her on his ceiling.
yeah.
And given the actions he takes over the course of the movie, I think the guy gets a pass.
Mm. My favorite song on the album is "Something About Us," and the scene for that song is just now burned into my head in a good way.
It's the rainy scene, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the warehouse. Yeah. So like I knew the bass line. It's my favorite Daft Punk song out of their entire discography because it's very simple, very straight to the point, and when you have lyrics like maybe it's not the damn it, Jerry. Um, when you have lyrics like maybe it's not the right time, maybe I'm not the right one, it's so open for interpretation that you can project yourself in the song in terms of love and relationships. I think it's a very beautiful, open-ended kind of love song, and it's not even that long. What really blows me away in it is the jazz guitar in it, which is phenomenal. Like all the music on Discovery is amazing. Like whether it's the electronic parts or a literal guitar solo,
Mm.
you know, it's just something about us is just the most to me one of the most perfect love songs because I think what a really good love song does is doesn't alien not I think alienate is a harsh term for it, but when it's so easy to put yourself in the singer's position, and I really think that that perspective of how easy it is to see yourself singing the song, thinking about somebody. There's always something about us, whether it's somebody you've never talked to, maybe it's the love of your life, or even when things are going bad in a relationship, whether it's just a girlfriend or boyfriend or even a marriage situation. I just think it's a very just cut and dry, very simple, in a very good way of illustrating love. And it's only like maybe 2 minutes, maybe less.
Gets the job done.
Yeah.
Pretty effective.
But you also get the digital love at the beginning that really kind of shows how innocent his love for this bass player is. It's not like
Not
it's
creepy
it's
at
not
all.
trying to illustrate it in any kind of creepy way. It's just like yeah, given the chance, if I ever ran into her, I would try. You know?
Yeah, look at his ship.
Yeah, it's a guitar.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean this
it's a
this
flying V.
yeah, which is a perfect like aerodynamically and aesthetically, mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I was
That's
telling him I think the only guitar shape that would work for spacecrafts really would be a Les Paul shape for like a mothership, not like a bounty hunter ship like his is.
how do you even get that? I want to see the prequel story to that.
How do you get the ship?
How do you,
Yeah,
how do you get this ship? Like
But
like with Han Solo, how did he get the ship from Lando? I want to know.
yeah, I also like. I mean, as you said, it's a tale as old as time. The main message of the movie is that the music industry is corrupt,
And
and
run by a bunch of robot aliens.
yeah,
Spoilers.
sure, sure,
All the conspiracies are true. There
yeah,
are no real musicians. They don't exist. They're
yeah,
all aliens sent here. Are we still talking about the movie?
yeah.
Oh shit.
Um, I definitely think it's definitely a different way of telling the story. And it's also really funny how it's like the projection of if America didn't exist, we would actually be cool with aliens.
It's a very hopeful, picturesque vision
Yeah,
of the future. But I love the how because of course I want to talk about the visual aspect more than the music. The music's good. I'll let you. That's your wheelhouse. That's your forte. But the blending of '70s aesthetic
yes.
with this futuristic techno world that they live in, and like they keep jumping from genres too. Every like
Mm,
15, 20 minutes, like every other song. It one time I swear to God, I was like Scooby Doo.
yeah,
They're wearing the '70s get up going to a Darkwood Manor.
yeah,
Come on, come
yeah.
on.
Um, it's
That's the ideal world I want to live in.
yeah. It also dawned when something happens in the movie. It's like just like on our planet, not everybody in their lifetime is going to learn how to fly a plane. So it's only honest opinion to think that on alien planets, not everybody's going to know how to drive a giant spaceship that goes interdimensional. You
It's funny
know?
because having mentioned Han Solo, having mentioned Star Wars, very briefly as I did, it bothers me that everyone could just fly.
Yeah.
Everyone just knows, like every piece of Star Wars media, someone's fiddling with something, some piece of technology. Like, there's no way everyone knows
It,
how
it
all the technology works. I don't know how fucking anything in this room works. Right now, I don't know how this computer works. Right now, how the hell does someone know how to just do that?
yeah. I think it. I think that was a really good analogy for Earth, saying that we're not going to learn how to. Not. Excuse me. Not everybody on the planet is going to learn how to fly. It's just not going to happen unless it's some program where in some futuristic situation where the government mandates that everybody learns how to fly. It's just not going to happen. And it's interesting. Towards the end of the movie, you're thinking, how are they going to get home? Because they're just musicians. You know, it's
Mm.
like the same perspective with us. We just make videos. How would we get off an alien planet if we didn't know how to fly?
It's Beavis and Butthead in space.
Yeah, essentially. It asks a lot of questions that like are really fun. They never make it like scary. These kind of questions, like for example, it's like, oh my God, how are they gonna get home? It's like it's asking cool questions. Like at one point, they pray, and it opens this can of worms of what is alien deities, what is alien religion, not religion. How did you say it?
It's okay. So you were talking about how cool that scene was, and I said, is it cool because it's do you like the idea of like for heaven, like Heaven's Gate, for example, a religion or a cult that believes in aliens and it's part of their religion, or a religion for aliens, and
Mm,
you love like literal alien religion.
yeah.
Like what on another world, millions of light years away, what kind of deity would they worship? And that's a scary thought.
Yes.
But the fact is, in the movie, you see visual proof that they do in fact have an afterlife. They're doing better than we do
Yeah.
because they can visually see a spirit ascend. So they have proof that there is an afterlife.
Yeah.
Why do they get one? It's unfair.
Because they're such a wholesome planet. You gotta like, yes, you're gonna be kind of mad on how easy uh the villains show up to the planet. Because, but it's so wholesome too, because the guys that watch the stars essentially are just watching the band play and not noticing that there
Show
are
me what you got.
yeah
That's exactly what it is. Tell me that's exactly what it is.
But it's about like three goofballs just watching they're slacking on the job, watching the band perform, and it's only when one of the guys go get a drink, they see it's too late. And I love how beautifully cut. Like some songs will feed immediately into each other, like the album, and some will take a second. I think the pacing between songs is perfectly done, especially in the very beginning, from One More Time to the second track on the album flows immediately. Like
Right.
there's no second skip, there's no record skip, there's no pause, just immediately, just like the album.
I don't know if you notice how long it took between like the music and the in movie sound. Because it struck me when it finally happened. Because it was pretty far into the movie when you finally hear sound that's not in the music.
Right?
It's part of the movie, and there's not much of that.
No.
Almost all of the sounds is from the music itself. But there was a few times where I'm like, that's not from the album.
Yeah.
It's rare.
Like the Wall with your one of your favorite songs from the Wall movie isn't in the Wall.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Um, also,
but um, the there is no. It's just like straight up Discovery from front to back. There isn't any extra tracks. He was talking about the extra sounds in it, and I was just talking about the Wall and your favorite song. I didn't want to distract. Think that there are other Daft Punk songs in Discovery or in Interstellar 555. I just wanted to make it clear.
I'm just trying to stifle a burp. It's coming up from the bowels
Yeah.
of hell. All right, I think I've quelled it for now. So, if I have to sum it up, the story of the film without really going into it, other than the fact that the giant guitars remind me of the Boston album covers.
Yeah.
Other than that,
It also kind of reminds me in a way of like not quite because it's a truck, but the same energy of Def Leppard's first album cover.
through the night,
Yeah, On Through the Night.
Wasted's the best song on that album.
Yes.
Yeah, we
You don't have
agree.
to. You don't
We
have to
agree too much.
convince. Yeah.
We agree too much. If I have to sum it up, do you remember the story of Kim Jong Il kidnapping those South Korean actors?
Very vaguely.
Yeah, he sent a fucking boat to South Korea and just straight up kidnapped an actress and her husband and brought him over and made him work on his movies. Because Kim Jong Il was like obsessed with movie making and the arts, and so he would just kidnap people because his own people were so stifled creatively, weren't allowed to express themselves. He would just kidnap foreigners, bring them to his country, and force them to work on his own projects. That's if you want to go in the movie with any knowledge without spoilers, I think that's the best real world comparison I can give you.
Yeah, it gets a little more extreme, but yeah, it relates to the record company taking people out of where they're from to make money off of them and just drain them, like work them like a workhorse until they're absolutely disgusted with music.
Isn't
When
that's a nightmare on its own.
yeah,
I don't think I've ever met a musician who got tired of playing music.
I think a good reference is going back to how Roger Waters projected himself
Mm.
in the Wall, where it's like I think because I have like, I haven't toured, I haven't done any of that kind of stuff, but being in the cycle when we were starting to stagnate with the original drummer before we got the new guitar player. Um, you go to work, you go home, practice at your house, go to work, go home, practice, go to work, go home, practice, go to work, go home, practice. And then your only day off, you go and do a full jam, which is very fun. But you have this feeling of we're not going anywhere. And it's kind of the same energy that it's like almost questioning if this is what you want to do because it feels like you're not going anywhere with it, but you are actively doing everything you can to make it move. And it definitely in a band setting, sometimes it's not your fault you don't go anywhere.
Right.
and there's nothing you can do about it. And I've definitely felt that before, where stagnation is what kills art. I think what I've learned from that experience in stagnation is just like this, for example, where the stagnation of like, yeah, they're getting incredibly successful, winning Grammys. You're doing it every night. There is no break. This is your life. You have no downtime. You have no time for friends. No time to go out and drink with your boys or even the band members. You know, to have like an experience that's human rather than just all work.
All corporate. It's all fake.
Yeah.
To turn your loves into just a job. And that's what you want. You want to make money off your passions, make profit from your passions. But at the same time, if that's all you do 24/7, make money for other people, no.
No, no, and it's like, yeah, my analogy isn't the strongest comparison, but I understand that how I learned really early on that stagnation will kill any kind of ambition.
Right.
Um, I really like the character that looked like Wiley, the manager.
Hey now, that was my observation. Don't
You
steal it from
didn't
me.
you didn't let me credit you. You didn't let me credit you.
Oh, I didn't think you would. If I get one credit, I want to say that the main villain, uh, he was the owner of the record company,
Manager,
the manager.
the
Yeah, he looked
manager
like
of the band.
he looked like Wiley from Mega Man.
I don't really understand the expect. Like, obviously, when you get that big, I understand having a manager, being able to. So you just have to. So you could just focus on making music. You have somebody else booking gigs, getting shoving it off to different record labels, trying to get records printed, try to get nominated, get shows and everything. But when you're small, like I don't see the point. I feel like that is like an easy trap to get in the beginning of music is to think that you need a
You
manager.
don't.
Yeah.
You don't. Almost made a loud banging sound right
Yeah.
there.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like so like beautiful in like a very dark way at how they illustrate the music industry. It's literally like that, picking bands out of a crowd, taking them out of their comfort zone, and just yes, you're making them highly successful, but they're miserable. It happens a lot.
Take away their freedom.
You
The
know,
freedom to enjoy their craft.
that's why some musicians just stop, like while they're ahead. You know, they're like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. When they get Grammy nominations and everything, they're just like, no, I'm just good. And it's like he didn't make a stop, but like obviously he put out two more albums afterwards. But for example, Mac Miller after Divine Feminine, he took a lot of years off music, and enough for him to fall out of the limelight. Because like when he released his first album, he was still labeled as that white frat boy rapper, but there was these energy of there's something different about him because he's wanting to play guitar on stage, and he put out a mixtape that really showed his interest in other styles of music like jazz and R&B music. And then it came full circle with his second album, Watching Movies with the Sound Off, where it's like the first album where it's like, oh my God, this is going in a different direction. This is really good. Then they released Good AM, which has one of my favorite songs, 100 Grandkids, which there is a line in it that doesn't really age well, where it's like he talks about how his mom wants to always ask him when is he going to get any grandkids. So that never happened, sadly. But then with Divine Feminine, with Good AM, I believe that was his highest point in his career. And then when Divine Feminine came out, obviously it helps that not only was he dating um, Ariana Grande, but they had several songs together, which they just blend so well together. And then like he's on the top of the world, and then he just takes a step back because the drugs, the stress of tours and everything. I can only assume that much, but what we do know is probably because of his drug addiction, taking a step back after
Mom did not help.
Ariana, huh?
Mom did not help.
His mom?
No.
What do you think about?
Mac Miller.
No,
Wait, who are we talking about?
Mac Miller. And didn't help that French Montana was the one that introduced him to lean, that put him on the trajectory to do different kinds of drugs other than alcohol, weed, and cigarettes. Definitely got, as everybody knows, it was fentanyl laced pills that killed him. But he took a step back because I really appreciate this about him is that, like, inevitably his mental health got the best of him because of his drug addiction. But he took a step back to take care of his mental health, and you don't really see that with a lot of musicians. And taking a step back and like putting a pause on their career because they're like, I'm not okay, you know.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking sometimes to see it in real life. Like it's all fun and games in a movie about aliens being taken from a home world and indoctrinated in the record company by a record company, but it's just sad. And I think not only just in general mental health, but I think people don't really think about the mental health of musicians because they see them partying, having a good time, making music, having sold out shows and
It's
everything.
exhausting.
Yeah, being on the road, they don't. A lot of people don't think like because Motorhead would do always be doing shows. They weren't recording an album; they were on the road, and they would be on the road for months, like 11 months, just going all around the states, South America, Europe. I didn't think they played in the Pacific with the Australia
Yeah.
and the Asian market down there. But it's really apparent, like very quickly. I mean, yes, they stripped themselves of their actual personalities, but you could tell that the touring, the signing of records, going to all these events and everything is draining them to the point where they're all like the woman in the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people turn to music. Okay, for women, that's a big one. Fame, that's a big one. But freedom.
Hmm?
Freedom is a big aspect of it because it seems like nowadays the only way to truly be free is music. It's a way to liberate yourself. But then you get stuck with management, you get stuck with records, and like, that lifestyle takes over, and then it strips you of the freedom. You chose it for the freedom, and it's taken away from you nonetheless. It's like you don't realize how askew the tower is until you're at its top. You don't see how slanted everything is.
It really takes effect when money is involved. Business starts,
Corrupts everything.
yes, because it's so disgusting how it actually, because this is how it's, no matter what, this is the best way to do it is make sure everybody in the band gets the right amount of pay for what they did, you know? And there are some people who say, if you're in the band, you get the credit. If you worked on the song, you get the credit. And I think there's definitely a fine line in between that space. It's never like don't isolate somebody because just because they didn't do anything with the song doesn't mean they don't participate because they're the actual ones recording it, you know? It's like, yeah, if I write a guitar riff, that doesn't mean I'm going to be recording the guitar riff because I'm not a guitar player. I'm the bass player. And like, if the drummer writes a bass line, he's not going to be the one recording it, you know? So it also makes things complicated because especially in the beginning, you're usually with your friends. You know, these are my friends. We started a band. We like jamming together. But when money starts getting involved,
Drives that wedge.
yeah, and you know, especially like the stress of firing a band member, especially if they're your friend. That it's a lot easier with once like when people are like later into their career when they have albums out, they can shop around. They can like pick this guy. We are only seeing you for your talent. if you end up being a good personality and meshing with us, that's even better. But because we don't know you, it's going to be easier to fire you if it doesn't work out. But in the beginning, it's you're all friends.
You have that emotional attachment with everybody.
Yeah,
Uh, they're in your band because they're your friends, not because you had pick of the litter.
right.
You don't. You don't
No,
have that. You're not afforded that luxury
mm-mm.
quite yet.
There's a lot of things that go into music that a lot of people don't um, think of. Whether it's the money, the business aspect, the actual interrelations with the band members and the band members with the record label, the manager, and even like the stress of having fans, making
People that disappoint.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of these different things that will drain a person to the point where it's like I don't even want to do this anymore. You know, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Once when you get to a certain level of music, it's like, is it worth the stress or is it worth disappointing everybody with me stopping? Regardless of how satisfied you are with your career. You could be winning like Grammys every year, but if you're not happy, it,
Is that cost worth it
yeah,
for fame and fortune? Is that something you're willing to sacrifice? And that's what a lot of people struggle with. And so they look for other things to cope, and that destroys their lives because they can't handle the stress of the lifestyle that they thought would grant them their freedom. Instead, it was just they traded one shackle for another.
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Well, I mean, all that sounds great and dandy until it becomes a habit.
Yeah, but overall,
Yeah, Daft Punk.
yeah, overall, Daft Punk really changed the music scene when Homework came out, Discovery came out. Also introduced a lot of different kind of musical styles within their French house roots. With the movie, I really think it really improves the album. Like the album is already, to me, it's already perfect. But in terms of electronic music, that's like is for me that's like yeah, that's peak. It's peak for me. Um, it's the icing on the cake because when I would first listen to the album before I knew that the movie was a thing, because my parents aren't into electronic music at all. So this is something. All my electronic music is all because of me, because I found it and I enjoyed it and I found things like it. Um, so I would have never known. It came out. The album came out in 2001. I was barely one. The movie came out in '03, and I was probably barely three then. You know, I didn't start lit until after Random Access Memories came out is when I started listening to them. You know, so it's like, of course, my parents heard "Get Lucky" because it was all over the radio and it won a Grammy.
They have no choice.
But that was their first introduction to that band, and they were like, "Oh, that's a pretty interesting rock band." Not knowing that they're just like, I mean, now after years of me just not shutting up about Daft Punk, they know that it's an electronic band. I probably don't know to the degree that it's French house. They just see it as EDM music. But I always saw the movie in my head. I always knew that there was a story. There was like a cut and dry, not with the details of it being like the record company and everything, but there's a story of lost and found. I think that's a really big point in the movie is that the main four are quote unquote lost on Earth, and they send somebody to go find them. And that's always the story that I has always got from Discovery. And when I now that I've seen the movie, I'm like, yeah, that's about right. That checks out. You know, and it only makes the album even better because every time I listen to like when I listen to something about us, I think of the warehouse scene. When I think of One More Time, I see the lively, almost aquatic planet they live on with all the different colors and just a really good time. 2000s, 2000s, like not 2010s, but 2000s music, and it is all a good time. Or even with High Life, with when they're going through all the different events, they're going to the record awards, they're going to signing all the autographs and everything. Every song I see every single shot from the movie, whether doesn't even matter if I listen to the album out of order. I can see the shot from the movie, and it just makes the music so much better for me.
Having that visual aspect to it.
Yeah, like I could be sitting doing anything else, just listening to the music, and I can see the movie in my head.
Isn't that the beauty of it?
Yeah,
Do you view it? Do you view the movie as secondary?
mhm.
Right. So you don't hear the music and think of it as the soundtrack, which is so weird because a lot of times when I'm watching something, I have a soundtrack in my head that goes along to what I'm watching. I can attribute music to something that otherwise didn't have the music attached. With this, it's anytime I hear the music now, I'm going to think of the movie instead of the other way around,
Right.
which is cool. It's nice to have that.
And even a little bit with homework for the anthology. Um, the Around the World music video that's from the movie.
Mm.
So like when I hear Around the World, which yes, I will say at the time it was very important, it was a groundbreaking song, but I understand that it's repetitive when the only lyric is around the world and it plays for 5 minutes. I get it.
Of
I get it.
course, it's the most repetitive.
I
It's the
get it.
longest.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But I'll listen to like 2 minutes of it and I really have a good time with it. And like, yeah, I got my fill, and then I'll skip the rest of it because it's the same stuff. But like, even with like, my point is with homework, I still get the visuals too. Like, um, there's a scene. Uh, there's one scene for one of the songs where it's just there's a house fire and the police show up and the audio is playing over it and it's like the actual dispatcher telling everybody to break up the party and everything. There's not a fire, but it's a party. Break up the party. It's like a police officer over like the speaker on the car. It's just like go back to your vehicles and go home, and it's like embedded in the track, and it's just the visual with it. It's always there with me when I listen to some of the homework songs. Like it's like I don't think every song has a visual, but there's a good bit of the movies. I think 40 minutes, so it has a good bit of it. But like with Tron as well too, I see scenes from the movie. Expect like with some particular songs from the soundtrack, I see scenes from the movie, and I mean, in a way, I guess I see the reverse because I saw the movie and then listened to the album.
Right.
But at the same time, when I listen to the album, I see the movie.
This is always the visual stuff's always secondary.
Yeah.
Now,
And then even though it's a Disney movie, right? No, that's just that big budget Disney movie. It's just a visual for Daft Punk's album.
that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
At the same time, and I'm not saying this is a negative, but sometimes I feel like I I kind of wish there wasn't a movie. This movie was great, highly recommended, but at the same time, I kind of want to paint my own image in my head and see what I want to see. This
Mhm.
does not detract from that because of the nature of the album. The album itself isn't telling the narrative of the movie. You could take the soundtrack for this, which is the album,
Mhm.
and just overlay that over a different movie, and the same themes could apply. The album itself is telling a very human story that encompasses a lot of different things, but none of them are plot points from the film.
Right.
It's just themes.
Yeah.
And that's why, even with the visual aspect of this, it still paints a bunch of different images in my head, separate from the movie itself. I can paint any image I want, and it will not take away or add to the music they already have. So altogether, let's wrap it up here.
10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm sorry, it's so good to me. I
But is
love
it
it.
better than The Wall?
Yes,
Is it better than the Grateful Dead movie?
I haven't seen that one.
All right, that's on the list. Folks, I also highly recommend. I've seen bits and pieces and fragments here and there, but having seen it from front to back, I can tell you it's all right. No, it's really good. And it's really good. And
It's not that long. It's just
so,
barely over an hour.
this is what, hour, 9 minutes?
Hour and five.
Hour and five?
Yeah, and that's including the credits.
To an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's on YouTube. You can find it in bits. There's a playlist on there, but you can watch it as a full movie as well up there. That's what we did. because they don't sell, like they sell the copy of it on their merch store anymore because I don't even know if it's active because they broke up 2 years ago.
Do you have to continuously break my heart and your own by mentioning that fact?
Dude, I cried. I was bawling my eyes
I
out.
think you called me about it.
Yeah, I was like, so their last album came out in 2013, and they broke up like what was it, right before the pandemic?
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic, so like 2019, and they had this big announcement, and literally everybody, like there were people who were like they're probably gonna break up, and then there's more people that are probably gonna release an album, they're gonna announce live
One or
dates,
the other.
yeah, and they announced they're breaking up.
The worst timeline.
Yes,
We are living in the worst universe.
and we didn't get a fifth Daft Punk album,
If America didn't exist.
but Thomas is definitely putting out music. He's already got some new stuff on his Spotify account. Thomas, I believe, is the Silver Robot. On Monday, there might be a course correction for a few things, but I believe Thomas is the Silver Robot, and Michael is the Gold Robot.
What breaks your heart more, LMFAO or Daft Punk?
Daft Punk.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because with LMFAO, they only had two albums, and it's like, yeah, I really enjoy the mixture of hip hop and electronic music. But with Daft Punk, it's more breaking historic music. Yes, it's fun, but that's not like it's not to say LMFAO is not art because there's a few songs where I love the instrumentals and it's like really good crafted EDM music.
It's just not serious.
Yeah, they're there to have fun,
Yeah,
and Daft Punk is there to make art.
There's some deeper stuff with Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart more. It's because there's more of it. They're a historic band, and there was no really infighting as far as we know. It was just like that we're both like I feel like this project has run its course. But with LMFAO, there was infighting. Red Foo was holding out money on his nephew Sky Blue, and it's just soured their uh, business relationship, but also their relationship as family. And I think that makes sense why they would break up. With Daft Punk, it's upsetting. It's because we're done. That's all we have. And I think it's best that we part ways. And if they parted ways in like 2015, 2016, it wouldn't have felt as bad because it's like, yeah, they took a break and then they realized we're not coming back.
It felt complete.
Yeah,
Almost like Alex Hirsch with Gravity Falls. He's like, I'm done.
yeah, yeah.
You tell
Or
the best.
Flapjack.
Yeah. He's like, you've done. You exhausted all you can do. You feel like you don't have anything else to say or add. You have this statement. Let it stand on its own before you start souring it.
You have four albums, one being a very historic and very important electronic album. You have your last album, your most recent album that one of the songs won a Grammy. You have a Disney soundtrack that is considered in debates of which in the ranking of Daft Punk albums, and it's a soundtrack. So I get it. You want to like once when you like, yeah, that's all I can do for this project. I really don't see anything coming from it. Don't keep us in suspense. For what, 7 years since 2013 to 2019?
Everyone's waiting for bated breath for good news.
Yeah,
And news they did get.
it was not good news though.
No.
But
I think we're going to call it here, folks. We'll be right back after this short break. I'm sorry, man. I just don't find him attractive.
What do you mean you don't find Jar Jar attractive?
Jar Jar's the best monster girl.
I mean, yes, but oh shit, Welcome back to the Sin Den. Unfortunately for you, I'm your host, Chandler Allen Berry, and with me is my very confident and capable friend.
Slug.
What? Do my waking eyes deceive me? There's a third party member here. Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm James. Yeah,
the James.
That's it. That's
The
it.
James.
That's
The
all
one-
you need to know.
The one we've been referencing almost every episode. This-
Damn, maybe I should start listening.
You're almost the mascot if it wasn't for the Lovely Frog and the Flatwoods Monster. You're like the most talked about guy on the show.
I didn't make it through the pilot, to be honest with you.
That's fair. I thought you said you loved cryptids.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Granted, it is long form commentary about subjects you may not care about. But I think today we finally have a topic that you're a little interested in. Now, we began this episode with what's supposed to be a cold open bit for a bonus episode, and it was about Daft Punk. Now, I don't think you'll like Daft Punk all that much. Is that correct?
Eh.
They're all right.
All right.
Kind of mid, as the kids say.
Yeah,
Well, how about this? Do you like sci-fi?
sometimes.
When it pertains to what?
Aliens are pretty solid, but not like the lame aliens. The real sexy ones, like the one from Jabba's palace, the one that sings with the long mouth.
You're the like Muppets and shit?
Alex, you know the one. I'm Slug. Whatever your name is. That's what you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I thought originally I thought you were talking about the green chick, but you're talking about a totally different alien.
Those lips, though?
Those lips, though.
They could work.
What's that mouth do? Like,
It's a monster girl.
Guys, I think this is a good segue. I think we're talking about Star Wars.
I mean, last week was May the 4th.
It's timely.
Yeah, we got Luke Skywalker sitting here on the desk.
Limited. Exclusive, bro. It glows in the dark.
Exclusive to what? Hot Topic?
What? No.
We're also recording on Motorhead Day.
Entertainment. Motorhead Day? Nobody cares. Star Wars is what it's about.
I mean, also, Alex Van Halen. It's his birthday today.
Yeah.
But it's not Van Halen. It's Motorhead Day because May the 8th. Whatever. Stupid.
8th of May.
That's so 8th of May. Who Ace of Spades sounds like 8th of May. No, screw that. May 4th is when we should have done this, but we didn't. So, a little late, guys, but we're going to be reviewing the entirety of the Star Wars films, with maybe some extracurricular talking about the shows. Slug here is not as informed on the intricacies of the extended Star Wars universe as James is here.
no, he's not.
He's our resident expert on all things galactic.
I wouldn't say expert, but
I would say expert.
I would say, yeah, you're an expert. That's literally why you're here today.
okay.
To share your wealth of knowledge on the Star Wars universe.
The lore.
All right, so we're reviewing the movies, right?
Yeah. We'll start with Phantom Menace.
Episode 1.
All right, Chandler, you're the gracious host.
Give us a good segue into Phantom Menace.
Guys, it fucking sucks. It's not great. And let me start with this, right? Let me backtrack. I gotta go back to the 70s before A New Hope came out. Which by the way, that's confusing for the older generations. They grew up on New Hope, which was not called episode 4.
I thought it was.
It wasn't even called A New Hope. It was called Star
It was
Wars.
just literally just Star Wars. And so when you start doing the episode titles, it throws off a lot of older people. Like when I tell my parents who grew up in that time, they don't know that episode 1 of Phantom Menace is a prequel. They hear episode 1, they're like, "Oh, was that the first one?"
Yeah.
They don't know. It's confusing.
I thought I read somewhere that like when Empire Strikes Back came out, it was already called Episode 5.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
I'll look it up. You guys keep talking
Yeah,
about.
I don't know about that, Chief. But we gotta before we even start with episode 1.
You can't start saying that it sucks.
No, I disagree. I disagree. But it's imperative to go back and see why Star Wars started. So, do you know the story of like how it came to be?
George Lucas couldn't do Flash Gordon.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's the story I know. That's why he created Star Wars, because he couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon.
In 1980, the sequel was released as Star Wars Episode 5: The Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, but like when the first one started, thank you, James, by the way, resident expert with the handy dandy Google.
Google's friend,
Google is a friend.
Mr. Google, got him on speed dial.
Actually, yeah, I got Google downstairs. I literally just say, "Okay, Google," and he answers my question. Is that fucking weird? I want to talk about Star Wars and futurism and sci-fi. I could just say out loud, "Hey Google, and it'll just answer my question out loud. I'm not downstairs, so it's not doing it. But like,
Right.
it's like,
You got a home?
huh?
Google Home?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I have Alexa, Google Home, like
Damn, imagine having money like that.
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. It just answers your questions. I just say out loud, like I'm watching TV and a question will pop in my head. Hey, what's the inflation rate of 1933? And then boom.
Probably high. Great Depression, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like a random ass question will pop in my head. Hey Google, why did Star Wars come to be? Well, I'll tell you why. So George Lucas got in a car accident. And while he was in the hospital, he came up with the entirety of Star Wars. Now, maybe there's some inklings, little nuggets here and there, but beforehand that occurred to him. But the brunt of Star Wars starts when he's in a hospital bed. It's almost like with Stephen King when he was writing the Dark Tower series when he almost died in a car accident. He's like, "Oh, I can die. I'm mortal." And all of a sudden, he's like, "Okay, I got to hurry up and rush."
Make my manifesto.
Well, for some people, their manifesto is not too good. But for George Lucas and Stephen King, I'd say their near-death experience helped them along with their creative endeavors. Because when you realize, holy shit, I can die, maybe I should work on the stuff I care about and get it out there before I do. I would say him almost dying was the greatest thing that ever happened to sci-fi.
I agree.
Thank you, James.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
him sitting in there in that hospital bed, he concocted the entirety of Star Wars in his mind. Has a bunch of notes and concept drawings, super neat and not too far off from what originally happened. And of course, his major influence was Ray Punk and Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. Almost said Duck Dodgers. I think it's the same thing, but I almost watched more Duck Dodgers than Buck Rogers. I gotta be real with you. But that's his major influences, and damn, is that a good influence to take from. So when we get to the original Star Wars, that's where it all springs from. And when you watch, and we're going to circle around to A New Hope when we get there, or should I just say Star Wars 1977, for the older folk out there listening.
No, they're not.
They're
Those
not.
boomers.
They're not listening.
Hey, I saw on the statistics, on the analytics, there's like a 40-year-old who watched. Oh, is that Chris?
Damn it.
Okay.
There goes the mysticism.
Ugh.
So we're gonna bring it around town. Bring it around town. We will do that. But I bring it up because when that first movie comes out, very clearly George Lucas had an idea.
Right.
Even for the whole Clone Wars thing that happened, he had like this whole well of knowledge to store up there. This whole backstory of this galaxy far, far away. And so when we get to A Phantom Menace, which by the way, it was years, it came out in '99, way long after Return of the Jedi. So
like almost 20 whole years.
yeah, with nothing except comic books and books like the Thrawn trilogy, the
Toys.
Mhm,
A lot of toys.
A lot of toys.
lot of toys.
To get the Ewok movies.
The caravan.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about those.
They're pretty solid. And you know what? This is a Star Wars. I'm sorry, James. We're going to talk about the Ewok movies.
Before, we'll talk about it a little bit right before Return of the Jedi. We'll briefly talk about
it. Takes place after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, after the.
We'll get it.
They're not canon anymore. Disney got rid of them. They're not canon.
They'll bring it back.
Disney got rid of a lot of stuff I don't like.
They're bringing it. They brought Thrawn back.
Yeah.
For the Ahsoka show.
So maybe they'll bring those Ewoks back then. But until then, it's not canon. We don't need to talk about them. Just like the Star Wars special. That's Christmas special.
Oh, the Christmas special is so fun though. Man, straight up watching porn in the living room with a VR headset on.
Ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time.
Really? Yeah.
You know something about that, don't you, Chandler?
About what's VR good for? Like honestly, think about what else we use VR for?
Skyrim.
What do you think I'm playing Skyrim for? Give me a break.
Well, anyways.
We're not talking fantasy.
I don't think.
Anyways, A New Hope or Phantom Menace, right?
We're talking Phantom Menace Episode 1. There's been a big lull. We finally get to it, and it is big. Everyone's talking about it. It's been 20 years since the last movie. It's a pretty big deal. James, what do you think about Phantom Menace?
I think it's solid. It's a good start to the trilogy. It sets up what needs to be set up. I mean, obviously there's, events already taken place, but that's kind of the point. That's kind of how Star Wars is. You have the put the words at the front. They're supposed to get you going, and then it jumps right into the action. People say it's super boring, nothing happens, but it's like it starts off with like an invasion of Naboo.
Right, yeah.
There's plenty of action story happening, and I think it's very underappreciated.
It's definitely not the worst film in the series. By
No,
far.
We'll
By
end,
far.
we'll end on the worst of the series.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
The Last Jedi. Oh, then
That's the penultimate, but we'll get there. We'll get there. As far as this trilogy is concerned,
It's a pretty good cold open.
yeah, just like ours, I'd say it's a pretty good cold open. Here's the thing, and you corrected me because I was not prepared whatsoever to talk about Star Wars when we mentioned it, and I started saying the Clone Wars, excuse me, Attack of the Clones was the most politically heavy uh, movie in the series. And I think what I meant by that is when you look at like the show, the Clone Wars, and when you look at all the surrounding mythos and lore of that conflict, I think that's what I was referring to. But no, that first movie is very heavy-handed with its politics, like the whole trade federation.
yeah, I mean it's a trade war. That's
Yeah,
it.
straight up a trade dispute. And here's my major issue. Before we actually get into the plot, I want to talk what I think threw a lot of people off. So George Lucas made this movie for children. He flat out said, he went out of his way and said it. Hell, even the original movie came out, Peter Cushing only took the role of Tarkin because he thought kids would love it. This whole series is designed with kids in mind. But then he makes one of the most political films ever made.
Yeah,
It is insane the amount of world building and like real shit he puts in a movie dedicated, according to him, for children. And so you have a lot of older and newer fans going to see this, and none of them are happy. The kids don't know what the hell's going on. They don't like Jar Jar Binks, the monster girl that everyone that apparently that George Lucas thought everyone would love.
It's kind of thick.
have you seen the buff Jar Jar pics?
Kind of thick.
Yeah, you know what? You're convincing me.
Oh, yep,
You're convincing me.
my
It's
job.
coming around.
It's coming around.
Yeah.
All right, I'm convinced. Jar Jar is the best part of the Phantom Menace. You can't convince me otherwise because he's a thick monster girl. Thank you, James,
Welcome.
for your astute observation.
Have you seen them feet?
I'm more into the ears.
Yeah, yep,
People always neglect the ears.
that's true.
That's the whole reason why Zelda's Monster Girl.
Yeah, because she's an elf.
Mid represent Mid the game.
You like them dwarfs?
She's
Those
not a
imps.
dwarf. She's an imp.
Mm.
Give me a break.
Well, anyways, back to A Phantom Menace.
It definitely has a really good opening with them on the space station when they cut. We're here on a diplomatic mission.
Pulls out
They
lightsabers.
cut the door open. It starts swinging at droids.
Well, I mean, that's only because they tried poisoning them to begin with. Like, you remember they closed the door, all the smoke started coming in, it was toxic gas. So, I mean, at that point, the separatists, well, they weren't the separatists yet, but, like, they started it.
The Trade Federation.
Yeah, the Trade Federation. The
CIS did nothing wrong. Okay, they're both pseudo-fascist, both the Republic and the CIS, or the Trade Federation, which would become the CIS.
Well, anyways.
So, I don't know. I think it's very plot-heavy, probably more so than any. It's on rewatches. It's a lot more fun, but the first time I saw it, I remember thinking it really dragged.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's
that's
very,
a very fair observation.
despite how kinetic the
Yeah.
story really is. It's moving very
Yeah.
briskly. There's
Yeah,
a lot
very
happening,
fast, yeah.
and yet I don't care.
Again,
Do
I think it's
you-
a fair observation.
Do you still feel like
No.
that? Okay.
No, I love Phantom Menace.
Maybe that's just, being a kid, you don't fully understand what's going on. You're like, well, what's the big deal that this guy just got elected chancellor? It's like you don't fully
What
understand.
the hell's a
like,
chancellor?
Exactly.
What's the Knight of Broken Glass? I don't know what that is. I don't.
Who you? Who you? We're talking about sci-fi politics.
If you really think there's no allegories, you're not looking hard enough.
We'll get to the allegories later on.
Like how the Jedi are just the Crusader Knights. It's literally the Knights Templar.
Yeah.
That's literally what the Jedi are.
And like the Ewoks, that's Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, we'll talk about those teddy bears later.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phantom Menace, like I said, I think it's pretty underrated. Politics are great. I mean, Star Wars, it at its core is political theater.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Soap opera in space.
essentially.
Space opera.
Okay, space opera. Whatever.
All in all, I think it's not the worst the 9 movies have to offer, or 11 movies we'll be talking about. Out of 11 we're talking about today, I really don't think it's the worst.
No,
Definitely
and
not.
it does a good job kind of setting everything up,
Yeah.
especially like towards the end
All
with
set up.
Darth Maul's introduction. He killing Qui-Gon Jinn. You know,
Spoilers.
looking at the story as a whole, you kind of wonder like if that one event was different, like how's the rest of the series?
Right,
It'd be
because we already
completely
have
different.
3 other entries in the series.
They all feel very distinct from one another. This I really do hold to my previous statement that I said episodes ago. This is the most childish. I think more so than any of the other entries. This is definitely it's almost like the Harry Potter movies, how it starts off very kid friendly. Like definitely made for kids. And as each installment progresses, it definitely gets more and more adult.
I think it works that way because Harry Potter's getting older.
Right.
Right.
And this works for Star Wars because time is passing between each installment.
Between each Anakin.
Yeah.
Right, because I mean that's what Star Wars is up until Disney ruins it. It's this journey of Anakin Skywalker. It's his life.
Completely just undermined the entire Skywalker trip, the whole saga. Speaking of Anakin, what do you think about young Anakin in this film?
I mean, I didn't mind him. I mean, he's supposed to be, a young, hopeful kid. That's kind of what, George Lucas wants to portray.
He's a very brash and very emotional child,
Right,
which is an issue when he becomes a Jedi.
right, but seeing how he is as a kid and understanding his upbringing and his background helps you to fully understand why he ends up going down the path he takes.
Yeah.
And I think the movies do a decent job at exploring that. Obviously, the Clone Wars explores it a lot more and adds a lot more, background to it that I feel a lot of people were missing. But no, I definitely I don't have an issue with young Anakin.
No,
Hmm.
I think he's portraying. Excuse me. I think he's portraying everything he needs to in the movie.
Right.
I don't think it also adds that it's like everybody's dialogue is just bad. To say that one is worse than the other is kind of
No,
missing the point.
George Lucas is a great world builder.
Yeah,
He's horrible at writing dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Give
then
more
everybody
benefit
a
of the
lot
doubt to young Anakin.
a lot of people hate on the actors. It's like nobody can sell that. I mean, it kind of is what it
They
is.
did the best with what they had.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at the original trilogy, it's like Harrison Ford is an amazing actor, and half those lines he said were kind of like not great.
No, but
Yeah.
you got in your nose.
Hold up. Hold up. All right, I figured it out. I got it out. Got it all better now. Continue.
Well, anyways, yeah, but I mean, speaking of bad dialogue, I don't think any movie gets criticized any more than Attack of the Clones. You guys want to go ahead and move on to that one?
I think I said it in an early episode. This is my favorite Star Wars film. I think it is the best out of the 11 films that they have to offer. This is the best Star Wars film. I love the politics. I love the fight scenes. I love the story. Yes, sand is coarse. I hate it, but we can't I don't really I don't think it's a good point to bring down the film because of the dialogue. If all the dialogue sucks for the most part.
And really, if you think about it, it's like, yeah, the dialogue, especially in that Anakin and Padme scene, is bad and cringy. But I think it's supposed to be. Like, Anakin went from being this 10-year-old, very emotional child,
To being groomed by
going
Natalie Portman.
going into the Jedi Order, where we kind of see throughout, the prequels that they kind of shun away or turn away from any sort of emotion. They teach you, suppress your feelings essentially. So he's trying to process these feelings he's having for Padme, and he doesn't know how to because he was never taught. That's not something you come out of the womb knowing.
Right.
So I think, yeah, somebody who grew up like that is going to have really cringy lines when they're trying to express their feelings.
But everybody is an angsty teen with bad dialogue?
Well, I'm talking about Anakin
I think
specifically.
that scene works better because of that particular concept.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like if you take the scene by itself, yeah, it's bad. You take the character and how the character is supposed to be, I think it's almost perfect because it fits. But, you know,
a thing about the dialogue I wanted to touch on is there's a big difference between literary dialogue and screenwriting dialogue. I think George Lucas is he'd be a phenomenal book writer. His plotting, his world building, as you were saying, it lends itself very well to a novel. But there's a big difference. I don't know if you've ever seen like a Shakespearean play,
Oh,
but yeah, like if you've seen Hamlet or if you've seen Romeo and Juliet, if you've seen any adaptation of it, when you actually see it, you're like, no one talks like that.
right,
No one talks like that. But we still hold it as these literary masterpieces because it's well written until someone opens their mouth to say the same exact line that's on the page, and all of a sudden the translation doesn't work. It works better on a page. So as a writer, George Lucas is phenomenal, but his direction in this first, not first trilogy, but in this prequel trilogy, definitely a little overindulgent.
right. And, it's funny you mentioned the fact that nobody talks like that because there's one, like, Mark Hamill interview where he's talking about one of the lines he had to say in the New Hope, and he like read it and he said he went to George Lucas and was like, nobody talks like that. What the hell? Like word for word, that's what he said. So it's kind of funny that you use that exact wording.
Mark Hamill will continue to have a few words to say about this franchise as it continues
for his character, at least.
for his character. Yeah.
Right. Well, anyways, Attack of the Clones. I'm not gonna say it's the best Star Wars film like you, but I do enjoy it. It's pretty good. I enjoy going Obi-Wan going to Camino kind of it they did it in a way to where it's not like okay he just went to this random planet and happened to find all these clone troopers. It was specifically Django was trying to kill Padme and he had been recruited by Count Dooku for the army to begin with, so it makes sense their connection there. So I mean, I some people
Pacing
might
is really good.
yeah I enjoy the pacing of it. What do you think, Chandler?
But the pacing,
Yeah,
it's very kinetic. I'd say that about all the movies. None of them drag for me. None of them.
yeah,
Is there moments they drag? Sure, but as a coherent piece of film, there's not a moment where I'm bored. I'm
No.
always engaged and invested in what's happening, especially this one. This is my personal favorite of the trilogy.
really.
Yeah, it's now I'm not like Slug over here and hailing it as the greatest Star Wars film ever made, but it's my favorite of the prequels
Kamino's my favorite planet.
because it's the most sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's too sterile and clinical, and
Yes, I love it.
because
It's like the
But
isolation on in Alien.
yeah,
How everything is so clean in the space station.
I hate it.
But I mean, I like it because of the contrast it is to the outside environment of the planet.
That too.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
How
I
it's
love the planet, like the raging storms, the 24/7 constant storms. That's really cool. I like that as a visual.
yeah, I just like and then you go inside and it's like pristine and you wouldn't expect it. It's kind of off in the middle of nowhere. I mean,
It's not marked on a map.
right,
Planet's not marked on a map.
That's why they go to them.
Yeah.
like it was deleted. I think they said very explicitly,
Yeah.
like Only a Jedi could delete it.
I think it wasn't it. It was. It's either Count Dooku or that other. The other.
It was Count Dooku, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Count Dooku's claimed to be Sifo Dyas when he went and spoke to the Kaminoans, but it wasn't Sifo Dyas. Sifo Dyas had died way earlier.
Right.
Count Dooku didn't do anything wrong.
Darth Tyrannus is really good. He's in this one.
Yeah.
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 He's a big part of this one.
Yeah, and then obviously you get the arena fight, which I think is pretty cool.
Geonosis fight is really
Dude,
good.
it's so good.
And it elevates it. Elevates it even more when you know that General Grievous is killing Jedi's under the
Again,
stadium.
it's like we keep using supplementary material outside the movie to bolster the movie, which is kind of what I think Disney's doing with the Mandoverse, trying to give supplementary material to the sequel trilogy to make that scene better, like retroactively making something better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what they did with the Clone Wars. They're like, we had to make an entire show just to explain what the hell happened in this movie.
Well, it's the bridge point between Attack of the Clones
and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. But all in all, as I said, it's my favorite Star Wars film. It's got my favorite planet in it. I think all the characters are starting to develop into the characters that we know and love. Whether it's Anakin's showing new signs that he might be turning to the dark side, or because of his conflict with the Jedi's.
And the loss of his mother.
Yeah.
By the way, why didn't Padme just free his mother?
They weren't in the business of freeing slaves.
There's so many opportunities.
Well, I mean,
Ahsoka
also
just
it's like,
bought her out and freed her.
but not really, because when they were talking to Watto, he was like, "Yeah, Republic credits are no good out here. That's why they had to bet on Anakin's pod racer, anyways."
First
he
off,
didn't care for their money to begin with.
Liam Neeson.
How is he going to? How would she free his mother when Watto doesn't give a damn about her mom?
Okay. First off, Tatooine is a lawless, junky ass planet. There's nothing out there. There's no rule. There's no law. There's no order. You're telling me some Jedi Knight, who, by the way, is already pretty much ostracized from his own people, couldn't just take her? Just considering the fact he is Anakin's dad.
They had explosives in plants.
Watto? Are you saying that Watto?
No. Qui-Gon Jinn is Waddle is Anakin's father.
He was conceived by the Force. That's already
canonized.
Palpatine.
It's already canonized.
What? No.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn is Anakin's dad. I think he was in his full right.
What happened in it might be Legends.
You read fucking Wikipedia one time, and this is fact now.
Wikipedia has all the Star Wars answers.
It's got all the right answers.
Qui-Gon Jinn is Anakin's dad.
Well, anyway, so Darth Sidious and Darth Plagueis were trying to create life, and the Force was like, "No, screw y'all," and created Anakin, who's supposed to be the chosen one, who's supposed to take down the Sith.
All I'm saying is that Liam Neeson could have taken what the fuck is her name?
You don't even know her name.
Shmi?
Yeah.
That's right. I was like, she's something. Come on, really?
Well, no, because they have explosives implanted, so if they go too far away, they blow up.
Come on,
Anakin said that explicitly in the first movie. Do you not pay attention?
I don't think you watched the movies.
You know what? You're probably right. Who fucking Shmi? Come on, George Lucas. Come on, man. I don't care if she's some slave woman.
Alright, so, yeah. That's my favorite movie. The Camino is my favorite planet. I think it has really good battle scenes. I personally enjoy the Geonosis fight and the whole Obi-Wan sneaking into the droid factory sequence a lot more than some of the scenes in Revenge of the Sith. So,
and
it's
then
just my personal take.
get Anakin and Padme going in there to try to rescue him, and then they get captured.
Yeah.
C-3PO loses his head.
We get a lot of Jango Fett.
Yeah,
it's
and then
a shame
and then he gets decapitated by Mace Windu
right in front of Boba Fett. That's got to be some trauma.
Yeah, but
it shows up in the show. There's a moment in the show.
Well, anyways, we want to go ahead and move on to Revenge of the Sith now?
Yeah. You got
2 questions on Passy. I meant to say this during the Phantom Menace bit, but it didn't come up. What do you think about the contrast between the special effects and the practical effects? Do you think the blend works, and do you
no.
think it's the most noticeable in Attack of the Clones?
I think it's very noticeable in Attack of the Clones.
I don't think so. I
You don't think it's
that
as bad?
No.
You don't think it looks like a video game cutscene?
I
And
mean,
that the
maybe
original
that's what
Battlefront has better graphics?
they were going for. It's sci-fi.
They were 90% done with Battlefield 3. Do you know that?
Yeah, talk about that.
Won't be reminded.
Look, I don't want to be disparaging or anything, but Return of the King came out in 2003, and the whole Oliphant scene with the Muma kill at the Battle of Pelennor Fields.
No.
We'll get there. We have a whole episode coming up, but that whole bit is it's better than almost anything today. The CGI in Lord of the Rings is phenomenal, and it's better than anything that is in this prequel trilogy. He's too heavy-handed with the CGI, and it clashes with the practical stuff when it shows up. That's my only gripe, is that for a guy who was so concerned with the special effects, I don't think they're that good.
I think
Definitely
they look
better
just
in-
fine.
They're better in the original series. Because it was actual practical effects.
Yeah, but then you could argue that the costumes are obviously fake. I mean, is that any better?
There's a
Or is
little
it up
cheese
to-
with it that makes it better.
I'll
Or
give
is it just, your personal opinion? I mean,
it's personal opinion.
Yeah.
how can you say one looks better than the other? Like,
Opinion.
objectively.
I'm not saying objective.
I know.
I'm saying,
I'm
like,
just saying. Like,
subjective. I'll say something that is objective. The miniatures they have, like especially in the Phantom Menace with the pod racing scene when you have like the actual like stands and everything, that's all miniatures.
right.
That's phenomenal practical work there is with those miniatures. Anytime stuff like that pops up in the prequels, I'm in love with that, but it contrasts too much for me. It's still a good experience. It doesn't detract, but it's a note. Now, second point. How do you feel about the inclusion of the midichlorians?
I mean, George Lucas was talking about it while he was still making the original trilogy. Everybody acts like it just came out of nowhere. It's like this man had been talking about it for 30-something years before
had.
he even.
But it was
Put it in.
not a major point. And for a lot of people, midichlorians was not, that's not their version. Despite the fact that was always there. For a lot of
Well,
people,
Who cares what their version is? That's not what it is.
Star Wars fans, as we'll come to see, take a lot of ownership. And like their headcanon to them is their own reality.
Yeah, that's like trashing somebody because, oh, my favorite ship between characters didn't happen in the show. Who gives a fuck? That's
Some
not what the
people
story is.
do. You like midichlorians?
Yeah.
You like the sci-fi of it? Like it's adding a bit of an explanation?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it also keeps the mysticism because there's Jedi's religion,
I like it.
the belief in the Force.
Let's get to something I also think is really good and blends everything we've been talking about together into a neat little bow. Revenge of the Sith.
Beautiful movie.
God, the General Grievous ship. So the whole scene is so good.
I'm not the biggest fan of the fight scene. I think he dies like a loser.
I'm talking
General-
about the beginning.
No, I know, but like the final fight
Yeah,
with Kenobi and Grievous is
too quick.
yeah.
I
I
think.
wanted more.
I mean, I think it's a good show. I think it shows what they want to portray. What it's like, yeah, General Grievous can kill a bunch of Jedi, but when he goes and fights a Jedi Master, somebody who's on the Council, he's absolutely no match. Especially with like Obi-Wan's fighting style, where he is more defensive and takes his strikes very
Precise.
precisely and really thinks about it and waits for his opponent to make a mistake. And obviously General Grievous, being somebody who's not force sensitive using lightsabers, he's going to make a lot of mistakes. So I think it kind of is supposed to show like how much better like these Jedi Masters are versus like your average everyday Jedi.
Yeah.
Now I say that, but then you see I mean, yeah, it kind of works with the Sidious fight too, where it just shows how much better Mace Windu is, even in comparison to his contemporaries who are also on the Council. How quickly they get taken out by Sidious, and
Get
Mace Windu is
purged.
able to hold his own, and maybe Sidious was toying with him, waiting for Anakin to show up to see what Anakin would do. I don't know. I do think that's a good theory.
I definitely think that Sidious was toying with Yoda.
With Yoda,
He was, yeah.
I don't think with Yoda. I think he was genuinely afraid of Yoda.
Rightfully so. I know anytime I play Battlefront 2, I'm fucking terrified of Yoda.
It's like, I mean, hell, he tried taking off. He
Right.
tried escaping. Yoda's like the one guy he was afraid of.
Trying to get the hell out of Dodge. You saw it. His
Yeah,
son's run for his life, man.
that's why Yoda is like, oh, if you're so powerful, why run? And Sidious wins. Kind of fluky, but
He does win though. That's a
yeah.
dub for the Emperor.
But if Yoda was able to hold on to that, I don't know what they're called, the Senate seats or whatever, instead of just
Saucers.
like sliding off,
Yeah.
it could have been a completely different story. But I think you,
If
they
Yoda
were
did
evenly
lose that
matched.
fight, would have had the other three movies if Yoda lost that fight or won that fight.
That's why I love Star Wars. Is how many like what ifs there are.
Right. I mean, the
So
prequel
many.
trilogy's full of them.
There's so many moments you could talk about for hours. Just
Yeah.
like one butterfly effect.
Yeah,
Just
like
changes everything.
what if Qui-Gon didn't die? What if Obi-Wan or Anakin died during the Battle of Geonosis? What if Count Dooku didn't turn to the dark side? What if Palpatine didn't win the chancellorship?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that he had the Trade Federation block his home world. That way, people would feel sympathy for him and vote him as chancellor. It's like, oh, he is from Naboo. Yeah, he's going to get our sympathy vote.
So weird that he's from Boo.
Yeah,
It's so
when you think
so
about it, yeah.
weird.
But I mean, it ties a lot. A lot of the story points tie together very well in a way I feel a lot of people kind of overlook because they always look at one specific thing and not the big picture. It's like, oh, how does this connect to this? Because everybody hates on Jar Jar, but then they don't realize Jar Jar being an idiot and very manipulable is how Palpatine's able to get emergency powers to begin with. Because Jar Jar was in Padme's place while she was off planet, under protection. I mean, there's no coincidence there, is it? That he was like, oh, maybe she should, you know, go hide. And then, he's make sure he's in earshot of Jar Jar, and he's like, "Oh, I wish I, had the power to do more." So Jar Jar's thinking, he's like, because he's like, "Oh, Padme would give it to me," so Jar Jar's like, "I'll fucking do it. Yeah, I'll do it."
Yeah.
Because he wants to be, a good guy, and I think if he's, a more intelligible character that people want, that doesn't happen.
No.
It just kind of shows, it works together perfectly, in my opinion.
I love the Legends story. I don't know if it's canon anymore about how Jar Jar Binks had to live in hiding after the Empire started, and how he was ridiculed, stoned anytime he went out in public.
Just like in real life.
But
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah, if you're
Revenge of the Sith, I feel, it's just nonstop.
yeah,
In terms of like big scene after big scene. There's so much to talk about for that movie. Starts off with a space battle that moves into them moving through General Grievous's ship to find Palpatine. Moves into the Count Dooku fight where Anakin then beheads Count Dooku, and then they're trying to escape the ship while Anakin's holding Obi-Wan. They make it to the cockpit as it's flying, as it's crashing down
yeah,
because the ship got blown up or badly damaged by their own army.
right.
Like the clones were the one who were shooting it, and General Grievous already escaped. And then they go right down and crash, and then what happens after that? You get the Darth Plagueis story.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
classic.
Anakin gets appointed to the Jedi Council, but they don't make him a master. They want Anakin to spy on Palpatine. And then they're like, oh, we know where General Grievous is. We should send Obi-Wan. And then Yoda's off world. Palpatine kind of makes sure anybody who could try to prevent Anakin from turning to the dark side is off world for when he makes his reveal. I don't know. I just feel there's a lot of good story elements that
A
get
lot of
overlooked.
layers going on.
Someone's
Yeah.
got a favorite prequel film.
Oh yeah, by far. And I mean, hell, some of the best scenes when Mace Windu is and the other Jedi Masters, you're going to confront Palpatine, and Anakin's sitting like in the council room, and half of it, like the sun setting, so only half of his face is lit up, while the other half is dark.
Perfect thematic.
Right, the lighting there is perfect, kind of showing his inner struggle between the light and dark, and eventually, obviously, as we know, he turns to the dark side because he feels like that's the only thing he can do to save, Padme. When in reality, it's Sidious giving him these nightmares to begin with.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you, I guess, in a way, at least from my point of view, knowing that he didn't really, like, he was just caught up in the moment, feeling betrayal from Padme. He had no intention to kill her.
I mean, he didn't kill her, but
She killed herself. Which, by the way, is a real phenomenon. Like, people make fun of that scene, unjustly so. But that's a real thing that can happen. You can just give up the will to live and die. You can
right,
do
and
that.
then I've heard theories that
Who's gonna stop you?
Clearly not myself.
I definitely think it's one of the best scenes
yeah,
in terms of emotion.
and then you have the whole, they're killing all the Jedi. That's obviously a phenomenal scene, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's like just an hour ago, Anakin was just walking around normally, and then he shows up with the entire clone army
Yeah,
and fucking takes everybody out.
All of
we
the
need
kids.
some context from the Clone Wars that he
Yeah.
does have his own army. And originally, I didn't know till I knew
Yeah,
about the
I mean,
Clone Wars.
they're generals that kind of have their own like battalions.
Yeah.
Anakin has the 501st with their pretty sick armor.
Yeah, a lot of people they make this comparison to Order 66. And I've seen people say they compare it to the Night of Broken Glass, and yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
Nazi imagery. I think it's more comparable to what happened to the Crusader Knights, as I was talking about. Is what happened was the Pope and the King of France didn't like that the Knights Templar were protecting the Jews, and so they conspired against them, and in a single night wiped them all out, like overnight, because they didn't like the fact that the Knights Templar was in control of the banking system over all of Europe. They didn't like how much power and influence they had. So the Pope and King conspired to take him out. That's essentially what you see in Star Wars. And being a history guy, I really like that parallel. But all in all, I think the whole Order 66 thing is really well shot. And it's one of those, if you watch it in isolation, it's fine. It's a fine scene. But if you've been watching from the Phantom Menace and you get to that, it's like this accumulation of everything that's been building.
right.
Everything's been building up. The steam is about to blow the lid off, and it's very satisfying when you get to the Battle of Mustafar. It's like everything's been leading up to this moment, all the themes, the entire narrative, everything that's been happening. And when you get to it, it's almost orgasmic, man. It's like a religious experience when Duel of the
Right.
Fates starts playing.
Don't forget about Chewbacca on the Wookiee planet. That's
Yeah.
a good fight.
He makes a good cameo.
Yeah. Okay.
Technically,
it's
yeah.
his first appearance in terms of timeline.
It's his introduction.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, obviously the Mustafar fight is phenomenal. It's definitely the best fight sequence in the entire franchise. I think most people would agree with that. Maybe not you over here, Mr. Episode 2 enjoyer, but in terms of pure lightsaber combat, is by far the best.
Lightsaber on lightsaber, yes.
Choreography is just incredible.
Phenomenal. And the soundtrack too is, as you alluded to, is amazing.
John Williams is the man.
Right.
For even any Steven Spielberg work, whether it be Jaws, Jurassic Park, I don't care. Steven Spielberg is just the man.
You mean John Williams?
Would I say John Carpenter?
No, you
No.
said Steven Spielberg.
Oh, yeah, no. John Williams.
John Carpenter does make good music.
But we talk about a lot of people. It's hard to keep track. But yeah, John Williams. I wasn't able to see him in concert, but I was able to see his work done live, and the orchestra and the symphony was phenomenal. They didn't. I was kind of hoping they'd play the Duel of the Fates, but they didn't. They played the Jaws theme, of course. They played the Indiana Jones theme. All cool to see live, but I think half the people were there for Duel of the Fates.
Yeah. But anyways, I think the prequel trilogy tells the story George Lucas wanted to tell. Yeah, the dialogue might not be great. Some people might not be fans of a lot of CGI. I enjoy it, but I think all for as a trilogy, it's really solid. It tells the story it's trying to tell, and I feel that's the most important thing because a lot of times, you know, they a lot of trilogies I feel or sequels to movies they don't go into it really knowing what their story is,
Yeah.
and that causes a lot of issues.
I think overall the trilogy paints a good picture. There's not one that's bad. And if we really have to pick one, it's the first one, but just because it's last doesn't mean that it's terrible.
Right.
No.
Well, anyways, I think it's time to go ahead and move on to the original trilogy with
Star Wars.
starting off with A New Hope.
Episode 4, 1977. Revolutionary for its time and just about every single way. No, narratively, it pretty much just nitpicks from Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. It's iconic. I think most stories in sci-fi and fantasy follow Joseph Campbell's Hero Circle. And this one is the first one to do it really in the modern day in such an epic fashion and epic scale. And I mean, from the first shot, no one's seen anything like that since probably the serials from the 1930s and 40s with Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. No one's ever seen anything like that on such a massive scale. All miniatures, all practical work, and it's just phenomenal. No one's ever seen anything like it. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's seen anything since.
I don't like the digital remasters.
No, don't go and correct yourself because first off, Tatooine feels clustered now. When you get to Tatooine and you just start adding all the CGI stuff, it first off, it doesn't look good. There's too much contrast between what was there, what you knew was there. It's like a Mandela effect. You saw the movie how it was originally made, and now you're adding stuff onto it, and it stands out like a sore thumb. Doesn't look great, in my opinion. I think it clusters up the scene, but that's only the remasters. We're talking about the original film, and yeah, it's been a lot of stuff's been added to it since, but that original movie is, in my eyes, perfect. Is it the best of them? No, I'll agree with you. I think Empire, like most people, will agree that Empire is the best. But
amen, brother.
Yeah, amen. What a controversial opinion that is. But when you first watch it, it strikes you how much happens.
Yeah.
A shit ton of stuff happens in that first movie.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
It's longer than you remember.
Yeah.
I feel that a lot of times when you sit down and watch it because, you like you said, a lot happens. I'm drawing a blank. But there's a lot of stuff that happens.
So start with on Tatooine with Luke Skywalker trying to get the droids. But before that, we were on the Republic ship. Darth Vader is just
one of the greatest intros ever for a character.
Yeah. They come in, they storm the Republic ship because the Princess Leia has the Death Star blueprints, and she puts it in a droid cart R2-D2. But at this point, we already know who that is.
If you watch the prequels first.
Yeah, if you watch the prequels first, it's two droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Made by Anakin himself.
Yes.
And it's funny that
we did mention that.
Darth Vader, yeah, there's so many little details you can harp on, but the fact that Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, does not recognize his own creation. It never comes out, like he never says anything.
Is it that he doesn't recognize it, or is it just not? It's not the right moment. Like, hey, that's my droid.
I feel like it's something because he's a very emotional guy. He's very tied to his own past, and so for him to not say anything,
I mean, unless
like George Lucas didn't know that part yet.
Unless he's just kind of anything that I'm no longer Anakin Skywalker. Anything he did is not me.
I still feel like it's something that we did. It's one of those. It's one of the few instances where I don't think George Lucas had that plan. I think it was added to make the character cooler and have more plot relevance, and to explain why all of a sudden he could read Sith. But wait, why can't he read Sith? Because Anakin was a kid when he made it. Why would Anakin know Sith? He's a slave child on Tatooine.
He just used the parts that he found.
So when the droids get the blueprints, they get into an escape pod that lands on Tatooine.
Then they get their shit rocked by some Jawas.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get sold.
They get sold to Luke Skywalker's uncle, and R2-D2 runs off after he sees the what's the word?
Like the tracking thing that they're putting on him, or
No, the projection, the
hologram?
hologram of Princess Leia asking for Obi-Wan, you're our only hope.
Iconic.
At this, if you watch it in order of it came out, you don't know who that is. But if you watch the first movie, you know exactly who it is. It's the Padawan from the first movie.
This is so cool. It's so cool.
But then after R2-D2 runs off, Luke Skywalker goes up into the hills and he gets attacked by
The Tusken Raiders.
Ragers.
The Tusken Raiders, aka the Sand People.
Yeah, Raiders scare him. He falls and I think he gets knocked out, falls asleep. I don't know. It's not. I don't even think he hit his head.
He got his shit rocked by the stick.
But then Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out and making whatever sound.
It shows up in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The crepe dragon, the Kenobi is doing an impression of, shows up in The Mandalorian.
So that's cool.
That's really cool.
But he makes a sound. He scares the Tusken Raiders, and he goes over to Luke and he was like, "Yeah, this droid was looking for you, man." And he's like, "I've never owned a droid."
Which isn't wrong.
Yeah, I've never owned a droid.
It's like the robot chicken bit from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. R2 was never his.
Yeah.
He never said, "Oh, I've never seen that droid." It's like, I don't remember owning one.
Yeah. It really, even with the red droid that was on his fighter, is dead.
Right, and was it really his droid? Or is it just the droid that was at the temple and was assigned to a ship?
Yeah, because it was in Attack the Clones, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dies in Revenge of the Sith. But he's like, "Yeah, I've never seen this droid.
Well, I've never owned.
I never owned a droid.
I don't
right?
remember owning one.
I don't remember owning one." And he goes to his little hut, and he's like, "You see this? This is a lightsaber. This is a weapon of knights and shit." And he's like, "This was your father's." And he shows Princess Leia. R2-D2 shows him the hologram asking for his help. So he's like, "We gotta get a ship, right? We gotta go get a ship. We gotta get off planet. We gotta go find this bitch, right?"
That's what happened, yeah.
Yeah. So they take his car, or not his car,
His speeder.
his speeder to.
Yeah, sure.
He takes it in town.
Takes his whip.
Yeah, he takes his whip down to Moss Deep. What's the
Mos
bar?
Eisley.
Mos Eisley. Yeah, the bar looking for a pilot, and we get the Han Solo introduction. Han Solo shot first.
Yeah.
Han Solo shot first.
No, he unnaturally moved his head to the side when Greedo shot.
I think Greedo shot first.
Han knew he was going to shoot, so he shot.
I have looked at the pixel count. Okay, frame by frame. Greedo shot first. Han Solo, he literally ducks out of the way and then shoots.
Anyway,
it's a fact.
after he kills Greedo in cold blood,
Greedo was trying to take him in. Okay, he was defending himself.
He was.
Sure, right.
Yeah,
I was looking for a particular term, but it escapes me. The technicality of it.
Yeah.
So then they talk to Han Solo, and he's like, "I got a ship. You got money?" And he's like, "Yeah, we got money."
And then they take off to Alderaan, but
Spoilers.
unknown to them.
Oh,
But
now you
no-
want to say spoilers
but-
for
I
episode 4?
I said spoilers earlier.
But unknown to them, but known to us, Alderaan does no longer exist anymore.
Yeah.
The Empire blew it up to kind of show, like, hey, look how much power we got.
I really
One
like
more planet.
I really like that Van Helsing's
Yeah, or Frankenstein.
yeah, or Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, yeah.
So they get there, they're like, oh shit, there's no planet. And then they
this
land.
asteroid belt. What is this asteroid belt? You know, this wasn't here on the map.
It's
Then-
so dark when you think about it.
Then
Yeah.
they go, they land on they get pulled into the Death Star, then they take the Stormtrooper outfits, and then they go find the princess, and then they go to the trash compactor, and for some reason there's a giant fucking monster living in the trash.
So good.
It's kind of weird, I don't know why he's there, maybe he's Darth Vader's pet, who knows. So, then they escape. At some point, Obi-Wan or Ben Kenobi, as he's known in this film, turns off the tractor beam so they can actually escape. And then he's like, I'm gonna fight this Darth Vader bitch.
And then he's like, I'm peace out.
Yeah, peace out.
Peace. He wanted to, give Luke some PTSD, so he's like, oh, Luke's looking at me? Let me let myself die.
Let me just die.
Let me
real
just
quick.
dip.
Let me just become one with the Force real quick.
Just like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna choose right now to become one with the Force.
And then Darth Vader's over there, like, so fucking confused. He's like, where the fuck does this man's body go? He, like, starts stepping on the cloak, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then, they escape. And then
What's the planet called?
Yavin 4, the base.
Yavin 4, right.
They go there, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna go blow up the Death Star, and then obviously they go blow it up.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome explosion of the miniature. That was pretty cool. I love the miniature when they're on the Death Star, going through the different.
I'm gonna be real.
caverns.
I'm still in awe
Yeah,
anytime I see that. I'm like,
It's
this
really
is
good.
1977. It's shocking. It's insane.
But yeah, that's obviously that's the film that kicked it off.
yeah,
Did you guys feel the need to literally tell the entire plot?
Yes.
yes.
That's
Because he said there's a lot. I mean, I was just trying to save
There's a
his
lot
ass
that goes-
because he's like, I'm drawing a blank. you're just like, I have a
Chandler
lot
was-
to say.
Chandler was the one who was like, yeah, there's a lot that goes on. I was like, there is.
proceeds to like say the entire plot of the movie. Yeah,
It's great. It's great.
good content.
Yeah.
it's called panic.
It's getting those minutes up.
You gotta do it for the prequels.
We did it for Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, when it's your favorite movie.
Look, you could have done it. Well, I started doing it for the whatever too, Attack of the Clones.
Well, anyway,
Let's get
let's
to
get
like
into the best, the
the-
second best
objectively.
Star Wars film ever made.
Return
Second,
of the Jedi? Why are we skipping Empire Strikes Back?
No, we are talking about Empire Strikes Back, the Star Wars movie with the best practical effects, the Star Wars movie with one of the best planets.
Hoth is so cool. I mean, literally, but like
It's
Hoth
so
is
cool.
just awesome.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yep, but Hoth's great, but then Cloud City's lame.
I like Cloud City.
I don't dislike Cloud City.
I
get
just think
Boba
it's kind of
Fett,
boring.
my boy, my favorite of the bounty hunters is in this movie.
I think we get
For,
some of the
like, one
coolest
scene.
Yeah, I think we get the coolest locations
Yeah,
in Empire.
I mean you got Hoth, you got Dagobah. Is it
Dagobah, yeah.
Dagobah?
I think we get the coolest locations.
Cloud City, Bespin, right? This is the name of the city.
That's the name of the planet that
Pla-
Cloud
the
City's
Well, I
on.
mean, yeah, but in Star Wars, sometimes it's just pretty much the same thing. People know what you're talking about.
We have Bespin, and it's just beautifully shot. I like all the shots. I love the how Obi-Wan's ghost tells Luke while he's freezing to death on Hoth. He's like, "You gotta go to the Dagobah system."
I like how they put in the whole Wampa scene just to kind of explain why Mark Hamill's face changed from his car accident.
Yeah,
Like that's the whole reason it was added in. Was to like,
God,
all right,
it
how
was.
we gonna explain this?
right.
The Wampa scene's super cool. Like the
That's
Wampa
really
like
good.
design is just all the. I mean, what's the steed he rides? Like the actual mount. I can't remember. I remember the Wampa, but as far as the stop motion for that when he's running through the snow, just incredible.
Han Solo just cuts him open after he dies and they crawl into him.
It's been referenced so many. I think this is probably the single most referenced and quoted Star Wars movie.
I think it was the longest bit for the Blue Harvest Festival.
I don't think it's the most quoted Star Wars movie.
You think that's
With all the prequel memes nowadays, it's definitely one of the prequels.
maybe. I just think Empire definitely. I don't know. I think most of the memes I see, most of the quotes I see, at least from the old timers, always seems to be from this movie. This is most people's favorite.
Old timers, yeah, but you know, you go on anything that's not Facebook, it's mostly prequel memes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is my favorite era of Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
That's definitely the best.
But yeah, I mean, Empire Strikes Back, you know, it deserves the praise it gets, obviously. I don't think it's as good as Return of the Jedi
I think that Return of the Jedi is the third best
of that trilogy.
of the films
Oh, okay, yeah.
in total. I think it's the third best.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Cloud City. That whole part, I just feel kind of drags on.
I could see that. I could definitely see
yeah.
that.
Dagobah is obviously the best part.
Yoda. It's
Yep.
either we get to see him again, or this is your first time seeing Yoda.
The puppetry.
It's so good.
The puppetry, man.
Jim Henson, man.
He's the man
He's
when
the
it comes
man.
to puppets, and he kills it. Yoda's such an interesting character in this one. I mean, yeah,
He's
he's
drastically different, but I think it has to do with he's even closer to the end of his species' lifespan.
Well, I don't even necessarily think it's that. I think it's more he's trying to pretend, like he's in hiding.
I mean, yeah.
He doesn't want to reveal his true self, you know, to just anybody.
I think what he's trying to say is when it comes to like when you watch the prequels and then you get to this one, of course, he's an actual physical puppet in this one and CGI in the others. So when you get to this one, he feels even more decrepit and old because he's an actual practical
appearance-wise,
puppet. Yeah. Just one of the most interesting characters I think in fiction. Just the way he's written, so unique.
I really think the effect of when he fights quote unquote Darth Vader in the cave, kills him and takes the helmet off and it's him.
Well, no, he doesn't take it off. It just kind of blows up and it just
Right.
shows half his face.
Yeah.
Awesome foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Awesome foreshadowing.
Gonna follow in his dad's footsteps.
The fact that there's still people who don't know.
And then you get the whole reveal of Luke. No, I'm your father or whatever.
No, Luke, I am father.
He never says that.
He doesn't say Luke. He says,
never
"No,
says,
I'm
"Are you
your
fucking
father."
stupid? Did you see the movie?"
This is a joke, babe.
Okay.
You just call him babe?
Yeah.
What the hell did I miss?
Nothing.
You don't know about our working relationship.
I knew there was something fishy going on here.
I thought that's what he said. I wasn't gonna say anything.
I heard it. I was like, it's
So
on
misinput.
The best part is, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna run with this shirt. I don't care.
Like, I waited a second to see what your reaction was, and you just seemed like, "Oh, this is natural." And I was like,
I gotta say, it didn't
I
bother
was like,
me.
I gotta say something.
It didn't bother
I've been
me. I don't
making
know.
jokes.
I always
I've been making
say
jokes about it for
something.
too long.
I always say something like it's either like homie, dog, some kind of
You slipped.
word of a
You slipped.
yeah.
Don't pretend you didn't. That was a slip. But it was funny.
Homie, dog, and then babe are very different.
Sweetie. Sweetums. If you call me Sweetums, we might have a different story. He's been spending too much time with Willow. Because, so, yeah, the whole reveal that Darth Vader is his father, I think we kind of take for granted how batshit insane that is of a reveal
Right.
now, because most people know it. But I've seen videos of kids who are like, not even kids, they're like 20 years old watching it for the first time, and they're like,
Right. Especially if you start with the original trilogy. You know, I personally like the twist. I personally like watching it from episode 1 all the way through. So it's like if you do it that way, you already know that Darth Vader is Luke's dad, so that twist doesn't hit as much. But then you get Anakin turning as the twist, and you know, I think they're both up there. You're either gonna get one or the other, you know.
depending on which one you watch first. Yeah.
Right. Now, if you watch the original trilogy, you know, that kind of takes away from Anakin turning because you already know. So, But yeah, I mean, Empire Strikes Back. There's so much you can say about it but there's not a lot you can say about it that hasn't already been said.
Right.
It's the most talked about movie probably.
We're not going to be breaking any new ground today.
No. Now, Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I think that one by far is the best of the original trilogy.
I will say it. I will give you. I think it's the third best out of the entire franchise. I will give you that. I really do like. Yeah, for like the same with the original trilogy. It's 2, 3, then 1, and then 5, 6, and then 4 for me.
Yeah.
It's gonna be different when we talk about the sequels, but yeah,
I'm not looking forward to that.
Do we have to?
Return of
Yes,
the Jedi.
yes.
We can just skip them,
We gotta
right?
be thorough. They're gonna be retroactively important here very soon with all the Mando stuff going on.
What if the Mando stuff just like takes the sequel trilogy and decanonizes it though?
It
That
won't.
would be the best thing to happen.
No,
That would be great.
no. I want. No,
I mean,
disagree.
it's not going to happen obviously because they're making a new movie with Rey in it.
I think it's gonna retroactively make it better by actually giving context instead of just being
Right.
like somehow he returned. Get out of my fucking face.
Yeah, no, I don't mind
So an
that.
actual good movie. So this one surprisingly isn't my favorite, and it doesn't give me the same feeling of suppletion that accomplishment that you have that first trilogy, or should I say the prequel trilogy. When you get to the end, it's like it's so perfect. Like the storytelling just it ends so perfectly. And I don't know, like there's so much narrative payoff in Empire that when you get to this third movie, oh shit, they built another Death Star? I don't know, man. Like it's good. Like I'm not talking negatively. I'm just saying like there's so much payoff that happens in that second movie that just doesn't happen in this third one. I'm just like built another Death Star.
I don't know. I like the whole Ewok, like all the Ewoks
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
it's the best
planet,
part of the
on the
movie.
moon, right?
Yeah.
Everything that happens on the
Third
moon,
movie.
the third moon, and all the shots that were taken on in California, but
Yeah.
yeah, all the shots that take place on the moon are great. I like they're my favorite parts of the movie, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Obviously, the fight with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are really, really good. But for me, what my enjoyment comes from the movie is watching the Ewok scenes.
And then you get that Princess Leia bikini.
Yeah. Oh, Jabba's palace, because we didn't even mention
Yeah.
at the end of.
That's where most of Boba's scenes even come from.
Yeah.
'Cause he's barely in Empire.
The Han Solo gets frozen at the end of episode 5.
Yep.
And then that's why they're going to Jabba's palace in the beginning of Return of
To rescue him.
Luke Skywalker shows up in all black. He's just a complete badass all of a sudden.
Yeah, with his green lightsaber to contrast against the sky.
It's Luke Skywalker. I would say like narratively, he's a Jedi at this point. He's a full on straight up Jedi.
He was way better after the car accident.
That's I started this show, or at least
Yeah.
this segment of the show, talking about how I don't know what it is about car accidents, but if you live through one, all of a sudden everything's better.
Yeah.
Everyone needs one, right?
Mark
Hasn't
Hamill
happened
went.
to me yet. Well, my life hasn't gotten better.
Ah, you moved out.
Second time's a charm.
I don't know. I can't afford another accident. I really like Jabba's character.
He was better when he's just a fat guy.
Yeah, I really like those. I like Jabba as how he is, but I really like the original take.
I'm glad we got it.
Yeah,
The worm version.
And then you get that celebration at the end where the Ewoks are just fucking going crazy while Luke's over there having a funeral for his dad.
Yeah,
It's just kind
It's
of funny.
really dark,
the
especially
contrast.
like when you see all the empty stormtrooper helmets. Like they're supposed to just be helmets, but like no, they're decapitated and their heads are on spikes. At least that was like the original intent. Was that their heads are decapitated and put on spikes.
I don't like the new edit of putting Anakin's younger actor over the old actor.
Because it makes more sense that he'd be the ghost of when he died.
Yeah, at least for me.
'Cause
But
that's
I know how people talk about that's like the last time he was with the Force. Like
Or he was a
he
Jedi.
was a Jedi. I
Right.
get that
I have
perspective, but
I have like mixed feelings on it. Like I understand why he did it, but at the same time, it's like he did, I guess, redeem himself at the end.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's ever bothered me.
It's sweeter.
I love. I don't know if it was Family Guy or Robot Chicken, but they had the bit where it's like Obi-Wan and Yoda are all pissed, and Anakin's like, "Why do you get to be young when you're a ghost? Why can't I be? Why can't I be young?"
I don't like it. I don't like going back and changing things because it's not a mistake.
No.
There's nothing wrong with the way it is, but the need to continuously go back, add stuff, take stuff away, change things, is admitting that there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong.
Because
Well,
when they took
I
the
think
helmet
a
off.
lot of it was stuff George Lucas would have done originally if he could have, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
It's not because it's wrong; it's because it wasn't his final vision.
I don't know, thematically, and look, I'm not George Lucas, right? Knock on wood, I haven't been in a car accident yet, so maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But I'm gonna say this: I don't think he should have changed. I don't think that should have changed at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he took off that Darth Vader's helmet, that you could see his face.
It's like
it makes sense that would be the face that would be the ghost.
because that's the face he had when he was redeemed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you really wanted to like stretch this, Hayden Christensen,
Hayden Christensen,
Hayden Christensen,
that guy.
that guy, Anakin, just impose his face over the old actor
I would
when he took the
dislike-
helmet up.
I also would dislike that.
I think that would have been worse.
They still changed his face.
Yeah,
Like the original guy who played him, they still changed his face.
Yeah.
Afterwards, so what they like removed his eyebrows, didn't they? It was like
I think so.
It was like a few minor details. I'm like, it's pointless. I'm like, why'd you even change that? It's so weird.
Well, I mean,
It makes sense. You wouldn't have eyebrows after you burn
yeah, he wouldn't
in
have
lava.
body hair
I still think it matters.
because our poor.
I mean, that's how I feel about the Force Ghost thing. It's like I don't understand making a big deal about it because it doesn't change anything about the movie itself.
No, I don't know. I'm just kind of a stickler for.
No, I'm
Changing
not
things.
saying that
Yeah.
it affects my point of view of the movie. It's just a nitpick of mine that's
Right.
subjective.
Gotta find something to talk about.
But
Other than just
I
talking
mean,
about the plot.
Return of the Jedi is a great wrap up of Star Wars.
Yes.
You know, it was a perfect ending.
And I think if you do anything else with the property, the story, the lore, and everything, don't use the same characters. Because that whole 6 movies is just open the book and then add
Right.
Return of the Jedi
Yeah.
is closing
There's a
the book.
beginning,
Because
middle,
it's
and end.
the story of, Anakin Skywalker, and then Disney comes along and ruins things. With the sequel trilogy, you get The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. Force Awakens
It's just a New Hope.
which is why it's the best of the 3.
Oh wait, are we moving on to sequels, or we want to talk about some of the movies that take place in between?
Let's
I
just
think
let's
we'll
just knock
wrap
out the
up
sequels.
to the last 3, and then we'll talk about Solo and Rogue One.
Okay.
Force Awakens obviously is just a reskinned A New Hope, but I think that makes it the best.
I think it's the second best of the trilogy.
They obviously kill off Han Solo, which I really think that scene itself, I didn't like it at first, but I've come around to it, and I'm like, it's an important scene,
Yeah.
and it helps, complete Kylo Ren's journey to the dark side.
The Force Awakens itself should just, like, if you were going to redo it, you just keep Force Awakens. Because I think everything they did in the movie was well done for continuing the story. Again, the only complaints are using the same characters.
It set up a lot.
Yeah.
It was a good first movie of the trilogy, and it gave me a lot of high hopes for the Disney trilogy that were absolutely bashed in the very next film.
Yes, I think
Because I think at that point you should keep the same directors and screenwriters, and that's the issue is they changed them. But I feel if you had the same team creating the movies, it would have been a much better trilogy because the original ideas would have been fully fleshed out.
I don't think you should just solve it a period. I think it should be what George Lucas thought about was with the more in depth in the midichlorians.
Yeah, something about the wisp or something.
Yeah, I would have preferred that after seeing what we got
Yeah.
entirety from episode 7, 8, and 9. I would have rather just George Lucas never sold Star Wars.
Like a lot of the characters introduced in Force Awakens are fine.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, Rey's overpowered, but
it makes sense because she's a Palpatine. But it's so stupid that she's a Palpatine to begin with.
Finn's great.
I like Finn. I like the idea
They
of
don't-
stormtroopers just saying, "Nah, I'm good."
They're humanized.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a
they,
great character.
I think they ruined his character
They did.
in The Last Jedi.
yeah, he should have died.
In The Last Jedi, I think he
Yeah.
should. Yeah,
His full
One-
circle.
right. In The Last Jedi, when he was trying to sacrifice himself, that would have been perfect.
Fucking Rose.
He sacrifices. We're not even going to talk about Rose, okay?
Okay, we're not going to acknowledge it as much as. Okay, let's get the cat out of the bag here. I like The Last Jedi because it's a big middle finger. That's why I like it. I know objectively it is
Lore-wise, it is
terrible.
awful.
Yes.
It's like, oh, let's just shit on everything that we already established.
We all Last Jedi now?
I'm just trying to speed through the sequel trilogy. It pains me to talk about them.
I do want to say something about the original thing they had going on Force Awakens. It's very derivative.
It's just a new hope.
It's a new hope again. And I hate the trend with movies, especially for franchises that haven't had an installment in years.
It's a requel.
They do this requel thing. I hate it. I hate it because it's lazy. And it's like, let's just tell the same story over again with new characters for a new generation. And then you bring in the legacy characters. Oh, they're all old and grizzled, and where have they been? What's up with that? It's lazy, and I think J.J. Abrams could have done better. But I also think they should have gone with the original story because I don't think it would have been as bad if they just had the same director. If J.J. Abrams was just a director for all three, and not just for Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, I think the movie the whole trilogy would have been way more coherent.
Yeah, because I feel like watching The Last Jedi, a lot of the stuff The Force Awakens set up, The Last Jedi like completely shut down and wasted.
It just throws out the window.
Because they're doing it for like, oh, wouldn't this be crazy if we didn't do any of the stuff set up? Like the subversion. That's what Ryan Johnson. And by the way, Ryan Johnson is a competent guy. Like with Knives Out, like his work is good. But like as a Star Wars movie, Last Jedi doesn't work. Is like a Star Wars movie on its own. I'll give it to you. It's a good movie. I don't like. It's got all the plot points.
I think
good.
it's the best shot movie.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like technical standpoint, I will give you it is the best of the trilogy. In terms of story and lore, it is the worst. Like, can we agree on that?
Well, yeah, I know it's bad.
It's a bad Star Wars.
It's not.
You respect it because of that.
Why? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna say that The Last Jedi is my favorite of the trilogy, but I'm not gonna put up a fight. You know, I'm not gonna put up a fight why I think so. I know it's shit. I know that it's really bad. It's just
like I didn't even mind them killing off Snoke.
I did.
He should have been the main villain.
Yes.
He should have expanded upon.
They just didn't know where to take Kylo Ren after that because they changed directors again.
Yeah.
It's like maybe The Last Jedi wouldn't have been so bad if Ryan Johnson finished the trilogy, but they went right back to the first guy. So then it's like, yeah, it's two different people trying to tell the story and not even working together. So you get the Rise of Skywalker, where at that point it's like, well, all the original shit's thrown out the window. We don't really have anything to go off of now.
Rise of Skywalker's not.
So let's just make a bunch of like fan service stuff to make people happy, and try to correct some of the mistakes done in the previous movie. Which, granted, they did.
Yeah, commit.
Just commit. Like it got changed. I know you want to do your original idea, but because for whatever reason there was just no communication from the top to the bottom.
I mean, why would you commit when the previous movie was universally hated by Star Wars fans?
It made it worse by backtracking, in my opinion. I think Rise of Skywalker is worse for trying to course correct what Last Jedi did.
Like, I think Rise of Skywalker, it's just it's obvious that they kind of didn't know what they were doing at that point, which is part of the issue. It's the pacing is really bad, but in terms of Star Wars lore, I think it works, and I think it's going to work a lot better once like the Mandoverse kind of sets it up. Because if the Mandoverse kind of sets up why like how Palpatine returned, then that whole issue with the Rise of Skywalker is like, okay, no, we know why.
Right.
It's not, oh, they don't know what they're doing.
And that's why I'm excited for all the Mandoverse stuff, but I think it also sucks that you have to do that. You have to have
Yeah.
Dave Filoni and all these other people do the heavy lifting because you were too lazy to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great storytellers. They'll retroactively make it better, but the fact that they even have to do that in the beginning with is definitely not a point in favor of Rise of Skywalker.
Right. I don't know. I just think the whole sequel trilogy, outside of The Force Awakens, is kind of a incoherent mess.
There's good bits.
Yeah,
There's
There's good bits.
I like the casino planet
Yeah, it's cool.
in Last
But-
Jedi.
but
Yeah.
then that whole bit ended up being absolutely worthless.
Yeah, I know, but it's like you got to take I approach it with these three movies. You got to take the good with the bad, because it's a property we all love, and we can't control the direction it goes in. So I just want to appreciate what I did like, rather than dwell on why
Agreed.
what I liked doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean,
Agreed.
if I want to, it's like I'll sit down and watch all three of those movies. I have no issue with it. I do enjoy all sitting there and watching all three of them. It's just I have the most issues with The Last Jedi. Do I hate The Last Jedi? No. I love all the Star Wars films.
Surprisingly, I don't hate. I don't hate what they did with Luke. I know that's very controversial, considering it's my least favorite, other than Rise of Skywalker. But I don't hate the direction they went in. I know Mark Hamill didn't like it.
I don't think it makes sense for the character.
I could see it going in that direction. I
It
don't
don't-
like it, but I can see it going in that direction.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think there's definitely some contrivances with it, especially with Kylo. Oh, he sent something dark in Kylo, despite the fact his father was way worse and he saved him. But when it came to the Kylo Ren, oh, he sensed some evil in him and he snapped. Narratively, it's interesting, but it's not in his character. But
Right, yeah.
I like him being grizzled. I like that he's more cynical about life. But the whole throwing the lightsaber behind, chunking it behind him like it doesn't mean anything, that's not Luke.
No.
That's not Luke.
The Sacred Scrolls.
You guys want to go ahead and move on to something that doesn't suck?
That we got from Disney.
Yeah.
Rogue One is such a good prequel to A New Hope.
It sets it up perfectly.
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate it as much until Andor came out, and I got to know that character more and grow more attached to him. And then watching Rogue One and seeing them all die, it's such an emotional impact. Because at first it was kind of whatever for me. I was like, okay, yeah, they died, but watching a whole season where you're like, okay, I like this character, and then they all die.
It's one of those movies where when you go in, like, because of what happened, because it's sandwiched somewhere, that because these characters weren't in anything we saw before.
Yeah, you knew they were gonna die.
Yeah, and I got that attachment because even without seeing Endor, because I knew that, because I genuinely liked all the characters.
Right.
I really think that it adds more enjoyment into the film because.
And then it's episode 4 where I forget who it was, but like when they were having the discussion about the Death Star plans and the attack, they were like, oh yeah, many brave lives were sacrificed or whatever to give us this. And now you see these characters, it gives that line a whole lot more meaning because you're like, yeah, I know, I saw that.
Right.
It's crazy because they blow up the whole planet.
Yeah.
The battle on Scarif is next to Hoth my favorite battle.
And then I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember a lot of Solo. Like it's just like I know Darth Maul was in it for a bit.
Emilia Clarke was in it.
Yeah, it's just I need to rewatch it.
It's really good.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a couple of years. I need to rewatch it just because, like, when I go sit down and watch the Star Wars films, it feels out of place. so I usually skip it. Rogue One, it makes sense to watch it in between 3 and 4,
Because it takes place 5 years before.
and it doesn't really impact the main story as Rogue One does.
But yeah, but we keep talking about how we want something to not pertain to the Skywalker saga. We
Right.
want the universe is big enough to tell these other
Right.
stories.
Well,
and
I mean,
think it does.
It does, but I guess what I'm saying is I haven't seen it in a while because when I sit down, I'm watching the Skywalker saga, so I kind of skip over it.
It's got Woody Harrelson now.
Yeah, I mean, I need to sit down and watch it again.
It's good.
I remember it being good. I just haven't done it in a minute.
Again, there's a few. I guess people would call it cringy, but you got to keep in mind this came out right after The Last Jedi, and people were pissed. People were boycotting, swearing off Star Wars entirely. So when Solo came out, it came out at a bad time. People were mad.
Like if it came out now, it'd be fun.
Oh yeah, because it's a solid entry in the series, but it came out. It was just bad timing.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to. It was bad timing, but it's a good depiction. Also, the guy who plays Han Solo, he's in Cocaine Bear, and it took me like an hour into the movie to be like, holy shit, that's the same guy who played Han Solo.
Donald Glover plays Lando.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to seeing Cocaine Bear.
The droid that Lando's fucking.
Oh fuck yeah, I forgot about
Good for him.
And I mean, yeah, like and then the droid. I was about to call it the machine spirit. That's a Warhammer 40K term. I don't know what you want to call it. The consciousness, whatever, the hard drive, whatever, of the droid gets put into the Millennium Falcon. And I'm going to say Falcon because that's how it's supposed to be said. I've had my character development, but yeah, like the fact that they put that droid, which by the way is universally hated. People do not like the droid. You put the consciousness of that droid into the Millennium Falcon. And now all of a sudden people are like, well, fuck, I guess I hate the Millennium Falcon now. It's like in Futurama what they did with the Planet Express ship. Where they give it a consciousness and made it a character. So yeah, the Millennium Falcon is sentient. It's a sentient vehicle or starship, whatever you want to call it.
I think it definitely it's timing obviously when it came out why it didn't do so well, but I really think it's a good movie to be like we can do other Star Wars stories. Like from front to back, it's like you're telling the story of Han Solo, and it really gives the character more depth. He's not just a grizzled bounty hunter that we see in the Force, the Force Awakened, or like in the original trilogy. He's not. He hasn't become that cocky, womanizing bounty hunter we know and love.
It's there. There's pieces, but he's definitely not as hardened and cynical to the universe. And this movie shows you why he might not be so trusting of people. He gives some. Also, I love him as a mud trooper.
Yeah,
I love mud troopers. That whole World War One diesel punk aesthetic that they have in that first battle when he joins the Empire.
Yeah,
that's so awesome. But, like, we need more love for mud troopers.
But I think a good way to end this off is ranking them.
I think I have the most controversial pick. I'll let you guys go because I need to sort through my own dilemma.
Let's see. S tier. We'll put Revenge of the Sith. And all agree that it goes in S tier.
I'll let you do it.
I'll let you do it. My ranking's gonna be different.
Here, let's go ahead and put Empire Strikes Back in there. Let's agree. Let's make this a consensus list.
Oh,
okay.
Consensus.
Yeah,
let's do a consensus list. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're
Phantom Menace. I would put in C.
Wow, I put it B, like upper B.
I put it like mid tier B. So let's just say B.
It's B. It's B.
Attack of the Clone. I'll put A. I'll give you A.
A. I would say S, but to make things simple, A. You're outvoted, so it doesn't matter.
What do you think, Chandler? Where would you put it?
I was gonna put it in B too, but I think A is a good spot for it.
I say A. You would put S. You put B. A's mid.
Yeah, it works.
Mid grab.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. S tier.
S tier. I can agree that it's S.
All right.
As long as Return of the Jedi is in S tier.
I was gonna put the top of A, but yeah, I'll put it.
A New Hope. A.
B.
B. Okay.
I would put it in B.
What do you think, Chandler?
A.
We'll do A. Empire Strikes Back.
S,
you got to put it in S. Return of the Jedi. S tier.
I mean, I'm outvoted, so S.
Where would you put it though?
A.
Okay. Yeah. S as we'll average them.
Yeah.
So if you have a really hot take, we can
I think I
trust things.
do. I think we'll get to it.
Force Awakens, I put B.
C.
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 I guess we're doing C. Last Jedi,
It doesn't matter what I say.
I'll put D.
Yeah, D. Because it's not terrible.
Where would you put it?
I would at least put it in C.
All right, so we're gonna do D. That's the average.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker, put it
F.
also in D.
F.
I thought D was the lowest we were going.
This
Oh
is
no,
a special
no,
occasion.
yeah, this is for
This is a special
Rise of
occasion.
Skywalker.
This is
I
the
think
only
it's
one.
D.
F. Okay, it's
F.
F.
Rogue One, I would say S.
It's
I
right
wouldn't
there.
do S. I would put A.
We could,
I'm gonna say A. It's,
Okay.
it's really good.
Solo, let's just do B.
I'll
like I
put
said,
it in B.
I
Yeah.
don't remember.
I
most
can
of it.
confidently put it in B.
Yeah.
What about the Clone Wars movie?
I didn't see it.
You know,
We'll put it D.
D.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, man.
So-
It doesn't feel like a movie. It just feels like an episode of the show.
It's like 3 episodes in one.
I'm gonna say C.
Yeah, I'm fine. But no, I think that's a good way to end it. You know, we're mostly a consensus. You know, we're all like within a tier of each other. So there's there was none of them where it was like I thought it was an S and you thought it was a B or C.
No, they were like right there together.
Yeah.
If it wasn't like a consensus, I think it'd be a little different for
Yeah.
all of us. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like some of them more.
Slight
than
differences.
most people.
Yeah, but on average, I feel that's a pretty fair list. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was a fun episode. I guess
Thank you.
that ends with we've gone through all the movies, right?
Yeah, and considering someone here who might be named Slug hasn't seen the shows, can't really talk about the Clone Wars.
I like Bad Batch.
Fair enough.
I finished Bad Batch.
Okay, yeah.
Like past the first season.
Just the first season.
Yeah, I've only seen the first season. I need to catch up. So let's not talk about that because we're on season 2, and I need to catch up.
We can have an episode. just
We
about
can
this
have an
stuff.
episode just about the TV
shows.
shows. Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
at a different time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks for having me on your podcast.
It's my God-honest pleasure. my
Yes,
friend. It's
sir.
been a
Yes,
pleasure.
sir.
I hope this is your most viewed episode of all time.
For your sake, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Do we need views? Thank you for being here.
You're going to bolster us.
Yep.
Your presence alone. So, guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode. I hope you like the Daft Punk review. I hope you like the Star Wars. There's much more to come. Any parting words, my friends?
Attack of the Clones is the best Star Wars movie.
Rise of
ever made.
Skywalker is the greatest movie ever made.
No.